I sound real honest. All right, everybody good? We're good? Yep. Welcome everyone to the Committee of the Whole Admin and Operations meeting Thursday, January 25th. It's around 5:30 p.m. and we're here for budget meeting 2. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. If there are no changes or hear any comments or any changes, so then I need a mover for the approval of the So moved. agenda. So seconded. Call the question. All in favor? Good. And disclosure of pecuniary interest, conflict of interest, and the general nature thereof. Does anyone have a declaration today? Hearing none, we'll move on to delegations and presentations. There are any consent agenda? Don't believe there's anything on consent agenda either, so we are on to discussion items, which is 6A, which is the capital budget overview of and revision 1. And to the treasurer. Yes. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So the discussion item here is just the revisions after the last budget we had. We were able to take a look at some of the funding and just take a closer look at the items that are in the budget and came up with a new budget total of $4,427,290. However, there is $195,268 that is unfunded at the moment. This funding can either be deferred to if we decide to defer a project, or in the case of like the one I'll use is the tandem truck, is if we decide to grant pre-budget approval and allow Public Works to go and procure the truck, we can take care of the financing in 2025 when we actually take delivery of the vehicle. Or we can just remove something from the budget or take some debt to finance the remaining amount. Significant changes are for Weir Road Bridge, an amount of $900,000. We've got a revised quote from for that work. There's one new item, Holder C70 sidewalk plow that will be covered under the business cases. And then with the road program, items included in this revision take into account the road rating and efficiency with mobilization. Highlighted items in green will have business cases to be discussed at the meeting, and the ones that are yellow are the ones we discussed last time. So with the road program, there is an update from the Director of Operations as we get to that point in the agenda. For the next page, if I just want to bring attention to a couple of things, just for clarity's sake. For reserves, the $1.9 million that we're taking from reserves, for all of the roads that are in the budget, starting at Totem Ranch Road East down to Reed Street, all of that amount is coming from the Port Reserve, which is at $1.2 million that we would have access to in 2024. For grants, that is our OSIF and CCBF. We were underspent in 2023 in both the CCBF and the OSIF, so that funding is going towards Weir Road Bridge and the Jordan Road Triple Culvert, and then some remaining left over to do some roads. The width is unchanged from last time. So everything that you see in green are things that have business cases. And then everything that was requested for an update on staff will be presented as well for things like the road program and sidewalk plow, and those types of items. And with the 195,268, if we want to get that number down to 0, then the numbers that we have to take away are from the 2024 tax levy call. We can either remove from that, or we can add some debt. Any And that's my report. Does anybody have any questions? Comments?
And just before we open the floor to questions and comments, the 195 that we're short, it's 195, 268, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That is correct.
Is that just short on the capital side? And
Correct.
do we know what the number is then for the operating side at this point?
Yep, the 855, 379 is the operating surplus. So the operating budget is balanced right now. So if we do remove things, say we remove 250,000 from here, then that adds to the operating surplus, and then we can discuss that when we discuss the operating budget as to what to do with that extra surplus.
No, I don't think I want to take anything out, but I'm just trying to get a final number in my brain,
Sure.
right? So on that 90, at 195, that's only 2.7 or 2. I just want to make sure that that includes both operational and capital in that number.
It does,
Right.
yeah.
And I think through our discussions at counties today, we're pretty much settled on, it's gonna be around 6.28, barring any additions or subtractions. They've asked them to go back and come back with a few subtractions to that, so I'm gonna guess it's probably gonna be around the 6 part when it's done, or potentially just under the 6 part when it's done, so.
The number that I have in the operating budget is 3%. Right.
Right.
So, but we can discuss that at the next one once we discuss capital.
Right, okay, so if we use the 195 as the number and we kept that in, we're at it, if we approved everything in there, we're at a shortfall of 195.
Correct.
So that's the capital portion of it. I'm still just trying to get the number through, so it's in my brain, with that 2.7 or whatever. But the other budget's balanced, so
Correct.
ultimately the township portion of the tax increase at that point would only be 2.7%.
It would be 3%. That's what I have in the operation budget. So this 195 is just strictly capital.
Yes.
To
Okay,
what we need to do to
Okay.
balance the capital budget.
okay,
The operating budget.
it's not in addition to, we're
No,
not getting to 5% by adding the 2.7 from this to the 3% on the other.
yeah.
That's where I'm getting.
And that was where you'll see in the business case for the sidewalk plow. If we decide to do some short-term financing for that, then that 164.14 comes out, because that's then covered by debt. So then that 195, you're taking 160 away from it. If we decide on the tandem truck that we're gonna finance that for 25, then 185,000 comes out of this. So then we're actually in this.
Just how we choose to fund.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get to those. I'm just trying to lead into the business cases, but ultimately we can have those discussions, or because we don't want to talk about how we're going to fund projects at this point.
No.
We want to hear the business cases first, right?
Yeah.
And so is there an expectation, so I don't get frustrated again this time, is there an expectation as we go through the business cases that we have the discussion then? Or do we save it all until the end and then have one big discussion?
It might be best actually to listen to the business cases and then have the discussion at the end. Because I think one of the takeaways from the last budget meeting was that the amount that was being asked to make decisions on was way too big. So here is now down to more of a manageable, and it could be as easy as the 2 items that I mentioned.
Yep.
We decide to finance the plow in 2025 and the sidewalk plow in 2024. And then there's no further discussion. And then when I present the operating budget, it would be lower than 3%.
Yeah, okay, and so I think I'm gonna move on,
Yeah.
right? Do you want to add something?
Yeah, all I was going to say is that the majority of recommendations from the business case are to keep the item within the capital budget. With the exception of, there's probably one or two we're looking for
Pre-approval, yeah.
approval. We can discuss each item, make that decision, and if nothing changes, then we come back to that summary and you still have it.
You may laugh at me for this, but I deliberately didn't read the recommendations, so. It's good.
Not at all. I took the, I took the comments, from the last meeting, and we adjusted those recommendations so that it wasn't, misleading in any particular way.
And so we're, unless anybody else wants to comment on this before we move to the business cases, we're gonna move to business cases, right? We're gonna go on to.
Clarification. So, Treasurer, when you were saying that the operating side, it's 3%, we're assuming there's a 3% increase there to help that?
Yep.
So anything, if it's, so at 190K on this side here would be more of an increase, it would add more than that 3% of that, or something above that, so.
The goal of today's meeting is to get that $195,000 number to zero or less than zero. So if we get it to zero, then the operating budget would stay at 3%. And then we would have, there's discussion items within the operating budget that would change that final number. If it's less, then I would balance the budget again and would present each point, whatever that looks like, right?
Okay, that's what I'm doing it.
So. So we're clear, because every time we talk, I get more confused. If we minus those off, or we find some other way to fund those, that 195, we're still gonna be 3%.
Correct.
Now we're on something. We're good? Yeah, all right, so I would, before I move to, item 7, in reading through the package and with the information or the review that I was sent through, in doing the review, I just want to compliment staff on the work that was done to get this down to a more palatable discussion. I think the work we've done to bring this forward so quickly in the process is fantastic. So just want to say thank you to everyone involved for getting it to something that I think we can, work on productively at the table. It's really good. So thank you to all staff for that. Okay, and so then I assume, or maybe I shouldn't assume, but Eric, will you speak to the environmental services, or will Sean?
I can.
You want to? Okay, so then 7A, if you want to move on to that.
So just with the water system budgets, this one is more of an action item. As far as to review and approve the 2024 water and wastewater system budget estimates. Total of 5 water and wastewater systems operated by the municipality and paid for by the users of each system. As far as rates, we haven't really looked at the rates yet. We were going to wait until July 2024. Originally we were just going to look at Cardinal, but we're going to now look at all of the industrial park and Spencerville as well, just to make sure that we're still charging the right amounts. It's from a 2023 results perspective. We were surplus in most of the water budgets, so that's good. That means we're not charging too much, so we may not have to increase as much. But also in July is when we'll also know that debenture amount for the Cardinal wastewater, so that'll be incorporated into the rate. But I guess the last increase that we did for the users of the system was 2021. So to do one in 2024 makes sense. We'll present the results of the future meeting. So I think the recommendation here is that maybe recommend the council approve the 2024 budget as presented for all water and wastewater systems. And I think if we go into each individual budget with capital, maybe I'll give an overview on capital, and then if there's any questions on the individual budget, Maybe that's where, the chief water sewer operator can fill in any questions. So for, the capital from the last meeting with, the business cases that were presented. Reed Street, that will still depend on whether we do Reed Street in the regular capital budget for roads. So if roads is done, then we'll do the water. If we decide to defer that road project, we'll defer the water project. So nothing on this sheet has changed from the last week. Did you want to go through each individual budget?
I think for water and wastewater, I would prefer to work our way through all of them.
So if we look at the industrial park sewage, we were at a little bit of a deficit last year. This one is really driven from our agreement with Cardinal, or sorry, not Cardinal, Prescott, and we did get guidance that there has been some rate changes there, so we're gonna likely incorporate that on our end in July to make up for that shortfall. Any questions or comments before I go to the next one?
So on that one, when I'm looking at the year-to-date 2023 expenses at 100,264 versus the budget of 79K. And then in 2024, we have 79K as well. Do we know that, how do we know it's gonna get back down to 79K instead of back at 100K?
It won't, but the revenue will offset that. We get that invoice from Prescott, so it's a money. And then we base our rates based on that.
So, but the revenue went up by
Went up by
$11,000 and the expense went up by.
So, that is one of the discrepancies we will look at in July.
Anyone else? I'm got to be honest, I found it weird that you know, the actual for the 24 was the exact same for both the revenue and for the cost of not reflective of any of those increases, but I think I didn't understand why, so. I think you can move on.
Next budget is the industrial water. So here with our draft budget, pretty balanced, and last year we looked at about a $7,000 surplus. So there's still some expenses that are still being booked, so that might go down a little bit, but other than that, it's pretty close to what we've been doing. So.
So I do, and
Yeah.
We're seeing, and I know we've been, you know, we've been doing continual work on the system to keep it up and to manage it well, but you know, watching Rockville's going to go through, you know, some big hits to their water and wastewater budgets, watching to the east of us them go through, you know, some huge hits over the last a couple of years, and they're going to keep going with those massive increases. What's to prevent us from that happening to us? Like, I know Rockville's looking at, you know, twinning of a line, you know, it's a considerable expense, and it's, you know, it's not budgeted, they don't have the reserves to cover it. I just, you know, I guess the question's more based around, do we have any of those issues that we need to identify? And you know, is this enough?
I think with this, this is, the chief water sewer operator, correct me if I'm wrong on this, this is where we have a certain bottom capacity with this line, and we're within that capacity, so it's ever, if we want to expand our capacity, then we would have to.
Yeah, no, I'm not thinking about the industrial supply, I guess I'm thinking about the actual cardinal system. We're on the cardinal system. Not?
We're-
Oh, sorry, I thought we were talking carbon system. That's my bad.
We're.
No, I understand completely the Prescott
New
system.
Wexford Industrial Park.
My bad, I'm moved ahead already, so, sorry. Okay, forget my question, I'll ask it again later.
Sure, sounds good. So any questions on the industrial park? Okay, move on to Spencerville wastewater. Again, based on 2023 results, you know, a modest surplus, which is good. The rates do need to be looked at here because we've got revenue of 164 needed to balance the budget, and this is based on a fixed price model. So we will have to review the rates in July. There will be, I guess, from the perspective of how what's driving the difference, whether it's capital or whether it's operating, whether we might choose to leave the rates the same and put a capital levy in similar to what we have for Cardinal, so that way capital is used for capital and operating is used for operating. But we'll take a deeper dive and report back for July.
Okay, questions about the Spencerville wastewater? No, I'm good on it. I think I just have one, and we've applied for a second pump out at the to the NLE or whoever that is for the Spencerville Lagoon. Is there an operational cost built into this for that, or is there any consideration? Or is there a cost
I'll defer to the chief water sewer.
Operational with sort of ECA.
with, no, if we actually get it, is there an additional cost? Like, we're trying for the ECA to do the second pump out, is there a cost associated with the second pump out? And is it built into the budget?
There with the ECA, it's a bit unknown to,
Maybe I can speak to that. There's an update as part of the admin update on Monday with respect to that. So we've given the go ahead to EBB Engineering to begin the process of Schedule EA. So we're probably looking roughly around 30 to 40,000 to complete the EA plus the amendments to the ECA. Because that's to achieve that second discharge. However, like operationally, there's not going to be much additional expense with respect to doing a fall discharge, because in a few circumstances we've had to do an emergency fall discharge. It would be minimal. The unknown right now is through the amendment to that ECA is what the ministry might require an additional monitoring, potentially some upgrades that way, which we'll work through as we go through the process. But you recall last year, council passed that resolution for us to begin that process. So we are initiating that process.
And that would be reflected in, or we'll know better what those costs will be in July, I guess, when we look at these budgets again. Or will we know by then?
I think that we should have a little better understanding, hopefully within the next month or two. We will have that pre-consultation with the ministry and get a sense of what additional items they may require. There'll also be, through sanitation conservation, sort of a phosphorus credit that I anticipate that we will there'll be a cost associated with that fall discharge. But hopefully by the summer we'll have a much better understanding of what some of those costs are.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, here none, we can keep moving.
All right, so
I said now we're to third.
now we're Cardinal wastewater. So again, the rates will be reviewed in July, and by then I noticed there was some movement on the metering side for water, so we should have a better outlook of what those rates need to be. The surplus that you see of 136,000, and any surplus goes back into reserve directly and to that specific reserve. It's not for general use. It's the difference in capital. Capital, we had transferred 1.2 million from reserve to cover capital. We instead 1.1, so that 136,000 will go back to the capital fund. Now, to address your question, I'm not, when we base the rates, we're gonna base them on sort of the usage we have now. So the more users that we bring on the system, depending on what that does to the operating costs, would hopefully in the long term allow for some savings. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Well, we're still, I mean, we've had the capital levy on there.
Yeah.
And we certainly, you know, used some from the reserve last year. We're putting more in this year than we took out. I just want to make sure that we're continuing to build. So that we don't end up in that same situation where.
yes, and I
Massive increases.
further to what that's not, it affects the, you know, all of the budgets, but you know, we do need to do a deeper dive in our reserve fund and how that aligns with what's in the reserve policy, because the reserve policy is very clear on how much reserves we need to hold in certain areas, and some we might be holding too much and should deploy that. And some we might need to make some changes to what gets put into reserves. But overall, the reserves are healthy.
That's a good budget too. So, but we'll see it again in July. Maybe.
Yes,
And
that's when we'll know exactly what that rate is.
Alright, further questions, anyone?
Just one. So I am noticing, I guess they're the wages for wastewater treatment up by 31%. Is that
Well, that's based on year-to-date actual. 153 is what we budgeted, and then we went to 182. That's only 20 or 29,000, not 42.
fair? And so we just did for various reasons consume all of it.
Yeah, so this the number that's included in here isn't final.
Oh, okay, the 2023 date is not final, yeah.
And we did have an employee in that department that was off short term. So during that time period, that's where some of that savings.
Yeah.
Take savings, but
Yeah.
that's
The
what
discrepancy.
that's why there is that bigger discrepancy.
It just changed buckets. That's good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think when we get to the next budget meeting in February where the operating budget's presented, I think that's when we can take a more fulsome view of salaries as far as where we landed. Versus, because then all the payroll is for when I'm sure in February.
Further? I probably only had one in it, and it's, you know, page 1 on the top, and it's just the sewer revenue, and in the budget, it was 549 last year. In the actual, it's 555, but this year it's up to 677.
And that's just to balance based on those costs, so we will have to adjust the rates for sure. So because where you've got that is
So we're gonna end up negative.
the costs that you have that are new is the 17,000 and 23,000, which is the debenture.
The debenture. So then we'll ultimately we raise the rate in July to balance that out. Is that Different premise. Okay, further, anyone? As long as we understand what it is.
Yes, and in this 555 number, we don't have the final numbers from Rigo St. Lawrence in there. I think there was still one more month that we were waiting for, so that number will actually be high.
So it's gonna be higher than.
Yes,
Like, so 112 higher?
not 112 higher. I think maybe 40 or 50 grand higher.
No, I meant 1/12 of a year, 1/12 of the.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you meant like 112,000.
No, one month of the year.
Yeah. It's about $100,000 in revenue that we get from Rigo St. Lawrence, split between the two systems. So yes, so that number will be.
Yeah, and yeah, and ultimately that'll get closer to balance. Okay, good enough. Anyone else?
All right, and last but not least, the Cardinal Water budget. Similar items to the last budget. A lot of that surplus is related to capital spend. That you know, there was we did on those portions of the project for County Road 2. We did realize some savings or didn't use the contingency one or the other. And the same thing on the rates for the actual, we haven't received there's still 1 more month to go of revenue, and same with 1 more month of wages and things of that nature. So again, the 177 for wages, the way the variance is to last year bases on the actual. So it'd be 177 or 140 over 177, but 149 over 177 is still wages are higher, but that also I believe there was one staff member audit for 2020. That would be included.
And just quick question on the levy, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer already, but the actual doesn't match the budget. Shouldn't those numbers be exactly the same? Is it Rita St. Lawrence again? Is that
Rigo St. Lawrence collects their capital levy as well, and it should be close. These, yeah, it should be close. If there is a variance, I can certainly look at that.
I mean, that should be, we know how many users there are and everybody's paying their share. It should be pretty predictable, right? It's just there's a big difference between the two. Okay. Further questions on the water side of this budget?
Question. So, I guess I think it's a good news story. Equipment repairs, it was 21,000 versus a budget of 40,000, and we're projecting 55. I'm assuming it's just, I mean, it's all speculation, I'm sure, but it's just the fact that we came in under, I think is a good testament to what we talked about as far as employment with you guys know. So I appreciate that. You know, do we think the 55 is there a reason I have the 55 there, or is it just adding inflation to it at this point?
Share, part of the projections also additional projects that we're doing that are under the operating budget, so that's why it's considered not part of the budget. Number is okay. Not every project can have small projects that have.
Okay, so, yeah, through the chair, let me just add on that. If you recall, last year, I think the Eversburg Industrial Park was an example when we were purchasing plants.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and it was, there was some discussion on, is that really capital, should that not just be operating?
Yeah.
What we looked at this year was some of those items where it's like, you know what? If they're $7,000 to $8,000 or whatever that case would be, probably better suited in operating like equipment to repair and maintenance. So that's why part of that jump is as the chief operator said, we agreed at that and discussed it and said, let's incorporate it into operating instead.
Good, thank you.
And, one thing to, next year when the budget's presented, the way that we're going to be setting up FMW, our budget software is you'll see a base budget and then you'll also see one-time items. So with that, say $55,000, you might see, 35,000 in the base budget, and then you'll see an extra 25 or however many thousand that is, and that will speak more to what CAO mentioned as far as items that are moving operate with their one-time.
Great, thank you.
I have two questions. So no change in user rates is the suggestion for this under the recommendation, the way that I read it. But we're recognizing that there is going to be a need for changes to the user rates. We just won't know them until July. Correct. How are we going to recoup the first 6 months on the second 6 months?
I think what we'll do is, because those budgets are also in surplus, we would take that into consideration as well. So, we should be able to smooth that out where, it would, instead of trying to collect that over a 6-month period, we might do it over 18.
So we can see it for next
So
year's
we
budget.
see it for, yeah.
Okay, so this
started
budget,
with
even
the-
though we know it's gonna need to change in July, we won't do it until next year.
Right. But, yeah.
Yeah.
And we can do that as well. We can either delay the rate change until January 2025.
Yeah.
Or we can start the rate change in July, but then it's being covered over 18 months.
But I like the 6 months of getting the word out that,
Yeah.
there's no rate change now, there will be one next year, we just don't know what it is, but we'll know it in July, and it'll give people time to plan for us, so. I think
Yes,
that's actually good.
that would be the.
Yeah, no, I think that's it's a smart way of doing it. From, to the CAO, I just, if you'll indulge me in just this one affects Mr. Wermelman, I just like to, if it's okay if I ask if he has any issues or anything that he wants to highlight for us. Is that okay? Is there, so, there's 4 budgets, in front of us, the industrial park, is there 5? Whatever, however many there are in front of us. Is there anything that you want to highlight to us, anything in there that you feel that is relevant that we should know out of these budgets and out of these reports, so that you want to asterisk for us so that we're.
Yeah, I think, myself and Director of Operations and Sean and Treasurer and CAO, we all have been went through the budgets, and I'm happy with what we've come up with, and obviously we all know that there is sometimes unplanned stuff that comes up, and we saw that eroded in the current reflection system actually. Try to pre-budget a little bit more for that, but I think overall we're happy.
Good. Happy to hear that. All right, and thank you for your input as well, and thank you both to the CAO and Treasurer on this presentation. So with that, there is a recommendation, and it is that committee recommend the council approve the 2024 budget as presented. I guess I better keep reading that one, shouldn't I? For all water and wastewater systems. Be a quick meeting if I just left the first part. So I need a mover for that. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Smale. Is there further discussion on the water budget? It sounds like we're going to hear about them again in July. But okay, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Or so let's move on. Good work. And I believe to the CAO, is it safe to assume that Mr. Spencer will speak to the next 6 items?
I believe that is, safe.
All right, let's go. We're on to you, 70.
So the first one, there are, like, as indicated, there's 6 items on here. There are a couple business cases that I'll go through each one, but the first one is replacement of some of our picnic tables with some newer picnic tables that are eligible for the handicap. We do have a number of
residents in the municipality that attend our pools, our ballparks and what have you throughout the course of the year. We put 2 new units down on the waterfront, 2 years ago, and they have been, used, quite often by individuals that are in wheelchairs, not, so these ones that I recommend that we purchase are a little different than the ones that are at the waterfront, but they are identical to the ones that we have in the lobby of the arena. So they're very durable, they're made of recycled plastic. They're very heavy, hard to move, which is good. What happens in some of the areas that we have picnic tables, they get utilized, they get moved a lot. And sometimes when they're moved is when they're damaged. So these are a little heavier to maneuver around. So the idea would be to put one at each of our ballparks, one in Sundsville, one here in Johnstown, and we have one at each of our outdoor pools. So I'm giving you a snapshot of what they look like, and the recommendation is just to keep picnic tables in an issue.
Discussion on picnic tables, anyone? Deputy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, to the facility manager. It's all 4 going down to the Cardinal Legion.
Through the mayor, no, I just indicated that there would be one at each of our ballparks.
I'm sorry,
There would be one in Sundsville ballpark, one here in Johnstown, and one at each pool.
and one at the pool, so you're only getting one down at the,
We're not putting any down at the one.
do you see that?
I've indicated that we already have 2 down.
There's already 2.
So we're just trying to spread it around so that if residents go to any part of our facilities, outdoor facilities during the summer, they'll have the ability to be able to utilize one of these picnic tables,
And
if so desired.
accessible,
Exactly.
yeah. Further, or are you good?
I'm not
Asking
good,
to add
but
2 more.
no. Okay, fine.
Now's the time. You can add one, you can add 2 if that's what you're making the suggestion.
Well, I'm just trying to see, you got 11,000, trying to find out where it gets here. Bleachers,
No, they're not bleachers, we're talking about picnic tables.
picnic tables, good call. So the 10 grand came in at 11, is that what you're saying, Mike? I guess 11,332 or whatever.
$2,200 per unit plus
Bleachers.
tax and shipping. There's a good possibility that we would be able to potentially go up and get them ourselves and save potentially $600 to $1,700 in shipping costs by just sending one of our vehicles and pick them. You're just in time.
Yeah, right, so your budget for 10 is coming in at 11,209, whatever, yes.
Well, with the HST, it'll be close to $10,000.
And now if we get more, we get a better discount?
That's the best price right now, even if they would take 6.
And have you priced them? Not just with VP, have you
Yes, I have.
priced that around? I like to get some of those wooden ones that are falling apart down there at the Legion of that. Myself, I know you wanna get one in every. How many would you have down there right now, the Legion? Not, I'm talking about the plastic,
But we don't have any.
we don't have any, thought we had one down here.
So we have 2 steel ones, as indicated in the report.
No 100%?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like
Do we-
the increase.
So, when we did the accessible playground with Giant Tiger, when I talked with Gabby, she certainly was asking what program was next. She indicated, a will and a want and a need to, have the project lined up. Do we have a project lined up, from a partnership?
There will be a little
standpoint?
bit of discussion on that. Well, I mean, so the next 2 items that are on the list, 2 and 3, we make reference to that there is potential funding opportunities available. Myself and the CEO and the treasurer have had a discussion in the last couple of weeks. Not necessarily about maybe looking to see if there's funding for this facility, but my idea is that I think we should be looking to upgrade the facility at the waterfront, Canteen waterfront, to make that accessible to, for the handicap accessibility and what have you. And if we're able to get funding for that, that's when I would like to potentially tie in on time.
Okay, I just looking at the benches and thinking that they are accessible, and we're gonna buy a bunch of them, and, you know, I think I'm getting the suggestion here that he wants to add, you know, 3 or 4 more. If that was the suggestion, maybe, you know, a partnership with them, that they might be willing to do that as a this year project, because it seems like every year they have funding. in
Yeah,
their
I've
budgets
had a
for this.
conversation with them about us upgrading that facility down there.
Okay.
And the fact that we've made the playground, the accessible playground, and that, the idea would be to do some funding with the government for that.
I just don't wanna miss a year if there's a way to. But if you've got something on the go, I apologize for jumping in the middle of it. Okay, do you wanna add more, or you? Anyone else wanna jump in on? Just before we move on?
To the mayor's point, or to the deputy mayor,
Sorry about
to
that.
the deputy mayor's point, you know, if it sounds like there's a need for them down there. You know, are we saying that we would like to recommend maybe 6 or something, if there's a couple down there at least to get us started?
Do you want to transport? Was there a question to me or? just-
I guess I was asking, I was asking the committee is the problem. So we're talking about 4, are we thinking we should add a couple or something like that down at the waterfront to get us started on improving that area down there, please? Cause.
I would love to,
What's that?
I would love to add 4 and get rid of some of the beat up wooden ones that are gonna cause someone loss, so we already had one collapse on us last year. I do believe so. It's a start. I would like to, I don't know if we have to.
We can certainly use 8. Like, I know, I understand that you're trying to respect.
I
the
was
board,
trying to be
but-
conservative.
Yeah, no, I know.
Just because there's other things that are within our budget, like, I would hate for you to say, let's get 4 more, but then let's skip the legions.
Right,
No,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So if
I don't get this.
you
I
want,
can't speak for anyone else.
no, but if you want more, I'm okay with that, but there's gotta be the funding.
Yeah.
Okay, the funding that I'm recommending here that comes out of our rec reserve.
Yeah.
There's only so much in the rec reserve, and the bulk of our requests, except for the volleys, are rec reserve, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
I don't-
if you want 4 more, I have no problem, we can put them down there, you're right, Deputy Mayor, they would be utilized down. There. Not a question about that.
do we need a motion or anything for that?
Let's just continue the conversation. There's lots of people that still.
Okay.
So,
And just on top of that, then, okay, would I hate to see us do is buy 4 and then 2 next year, this model was obsolete or something, is there any reason we didn't think that we couldn't get this again the year after? You know what I mean, or something, at least. something-
The word, no, the ones that we had with the arena, we purchased 2 years ago.
Okay.
yeah.
So they are,
If there's 25 left, I mean, if we replace 80 each year, then we've got 24 of the 25 done in 3 years. We are in brand new in the last, pretty much like, well, in the last.
and these are the last 50 years.
Yeah, they're long enough.
I just want to know.
Yeah. 3 years for sure. Okay, anyone else want to weigh in? before we move on? Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
Well, the table down, Legion, there is some bad shape there. But how many handicap tables do you need? There's picnic tables, other picnic tables, are expensive of them, it's straight, not designed for handling, but they're still durable picnic tables that are $2,100 a piece.
That is correct. There are cheaper ones that are just standard picnic table that are made with recycled plastic.
4 handicap would be used down there.
Yes.
I've been down there in July. You have to realize now more and more people are getting new hips, new knees, and with their walkers, that's what you use to sit in the front. It's not just wheelchairs, it's walkers, etc. And anytime you have a function down there, you got more than 4, for sure.
You've got lots of people who would use walkers, you can still set a non-handicap table.
Yeah, but it's more convenient when you pull up front, that's all.
You're not gonna sit in a walker, they're still gonna sit down with these hands up. When they're made to sit in a wheelchair.
So can we, when you're doing the pricing for them for the next rendition of this isn't for pre-budget approval or anything, right? Is there a way that you can, like the counselor suggested, get the quote and get a costed quote for ones that are accessible? I like the idea of trying to make everything as accessible as we can, but if there is, a half price savings, then I think I could. Yeah. Well, let's see what the pricing is on them, and then in our next discussion, I think it'll be, a little easier discussion when we actually look at those numbers and we move it forward. That way it works for everybody. If we get the exact numbers and we know what we're committing to or not committing to. That's fine. Okay, so this one's pretty simple. Committee recommends that the inclusive picnic tables remain in the 2024 budget. I need a mover. Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Martell. Further discussion? All in favor? Easier than you thought. Might be your night, you never know. Number 2.
So number 2 and 3 are for this facility here, for the Johnstown Community Center. As indicated in here, we talked about the upgrade funding, but after these reports were done, actual grant funding information came out. There's a deadline for, I believe it's March the 7th, where there's first applications in the conversations with the CIO and the treasurer. I think it would be more beneficial for us to try to put some sort of funding in for upgrades to that facility on the waterfront before this is. And I just want to see what the discussion was, what the thing was of the council. For here, it's 2 small projects. Replacing the 2 existing furnaces that are here and the 1 air conditioner unit. There are 2 air conditioner units. One was upgraded a couple years ago. The other ones are in the cycle. And then so we'll do 1 at a time. So that's what the comment is for upgrading the furnishings.
I certainly have, I'll speak first on this. I have no issue with anything in this. I was actually hoping to be, even probably a bit more aggressive on this one as well, having used this facility for the last year. It's fantastic. And I think all of us sort of have a different feel about it than maybe what we did before. And recognizing that the OTF money was there. Just for me personally, I saw, well, why not take a big swing at some OTF funding? If we get it, we get it. If we don't, we don't. We still do the projects that you recommended. But, by taking the bigger swing, there's lots of stuff that could be upgraded. But if your suggestion is different in that we do that, I just haven't seen it. So.
Well, it's not in there because we didn't have time. That everything got populated late last week or early last week before staff were off to. Sorry. CAO and I just had those conversations late last week. So I think, if we're going to, we really can only put 1 grant application. If we're going to do that, potentially, I don't know if that would be beneficial for us to put 1 in for this building and 1 in for another building. But if you were to categorize things as far as upgrading and what have you, my idea would be the waterfront would be number 1. And then each pool facility, upgrading the washroom facilities and making those accessible for the handicap and that. This would be the 4th facility.
In the spirit of the funding that is available, and I don't have it in front of me, does the canteen match
Yes, it does.
what the spirit of funding is?
Yes.
Okay. And so I think I'll look to this side for this question. When it comes to that, we're getting a little tiny bit off topic, but there's a financial commitment on our part to the OTF. Do we know what the percentage of it is, and do we have an idea of what the funds that we'd be asking are? Because that's going to change the budget. Right, if it's $100,000 project, 50,000 of it's funded by OTF, that's still a $50,000 hit to our budget, which is almost 1%. So
Correct. I don't have the percent, that, MTS covers.
Okay, so-
Project, but
Can we have that on for the next budget and would you be able to? I mean, I don't know when the next budget even is, but that application would have to be submitted. Same, right? March, it's not a whole lot of weeks away, so you would have a costed, you'd have to have a costed estimate for that, so can that be included in the next budget so that we know? Is that fair? We certainly need to know what we're signing up for. For sure. Okay. All right, back to this one. Does anybody want to speak to the AC replacements? Deputy,
We're gonna be replacing for 20,000 2 furnaces and 1 AC. Or just 2 furnaces and we're,
Two furnaces and an AC.
so 2 furnaces and an AC for 20,000? Very good. Oh, and just one more, Mr.
Sure.
Those 2 furnaces. One heats the place and one's the backup, is that right? Or do they both run in cold weather?
Through the chairs, looking right now, the way the building was constructed, they actually, one heats this section,
One
and
heats,
the other one heats the back end.
okay, yeah, the bathroom, that's right, I remember, yeah, okay. Okay.
Which are locked up in the winter, but
Yeah.
there is heat in those.
So we're gonna keep the,
I did not know that.
so we're gonna keep the 1 AC that was changed in 2020, is that right?
Absolutely.
Chris.
No issues with this one. Go ahead and give me just a second. No, that was There's a piece with the Chris stuff, that's all.
Good, all right. Any?
When you're changing heat furnaces from air conditioning, heat furnaces are natural gas, that's correct. What about the cost of converted heat pump as opposed to heating and air conditioning? Through the chair to, Mr. Hunter, hasn't looked at that, to be quite honest with you. The one air conditioner that we have, 24 years old. So we haven't looked at that.
Might be worthwhile exploring to see if there is funding available. There is, I know residentially there is.
Yeah.
To switch to the heat pump source. I'll look to this side of the table again, I mean, I think I'm hearing that we want this to move forward, but can we explore the idea of potential funding possibilities for heat source and see, or heat pump source, and see if that actually is a match?
I would, through the chair, I would suggest that, yeah, there does appear to be interest in doing the work. And it's not like we're approving the
Right.
budget tonight. We can do some follow-up and
Yeah.
and get back.
Yeah, I love the suggestion. I think it's a fantastic suggestion. So,
Depending on pricing, items like that, sure.
but we'll see it again and we'll have a better idea. Hopefully a better idea.
We can provide an update at the next, meeting.
Yeah, because then we'll know if there's funding available or something like that as well for that possibility, potential. I can do a Google Dive, but I'll do it later. Yeah,
Yeah,
We'll just see it next
yeah, I know, you're going from propane to there is typically funding, I'm just not
there
sure.
is for me at home.
Yeah, I'm just not sure that's the case if you're moving from natural gas.
It is for
Oh,
residential, it's
for residential.
$7,000 for a residential Enbridge customer. So, but all we're doing is making sure that this stays on the budget for the next one, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read the recommendation. I think there's support for it around the table already. Unless somebody has a big crazy question, but I'm just gonna read the recommendation, see if I can get a mover and second and keep things moving. So the committee recommends that the replacement of the existing furnace units and 1 AC unit at South End Community Center with new energy efficient units remain in the 2024 budget. So we're not approving anything, we're just saying we're gonna keep it in there until the next one, we'll have more information next week. That's all that it is.
Correct.
Yeah, I think there's a general consensus that we want us to stay in, we just maybe look at a couple of options that might not have been considered, so. You had your hand up, did you still want to ask a question?
To Mike, to mine, to the record. How, you know how old the furnaces are?
I believe we installed them in the 1998. So
Because I have a heat exchanger and, you can only set them so far under minus, and then your furnace kicks back on. So if you set it at 10 below zero, your hydro's gonna go crazy. And most people only set it between 4 and 8. So that means it shuts down and your furnace kicks on if our furnaces are 11 years old. Just saying, just wanted to know how old the furnace was, so thanks, Mike.
Yeah, certainly worth the consideration. Okay, so moved, seconded by Councilor Smale, further discussion. Call the question, all in favor? Good, move, all in favor. Close event seems to be the way this. All right, number 3, South Center News Forum.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. So again, this is for discussion for replacing this existing flooring here in the main hall. It's been stripped and waxed, and it is where it is now. It's dull.
That's my first, wasn't 3 years ago.
You know, applied different facilities to wax.
Oh, yeah.
Years, so.
I just have one question. I have zero issue with any of these items, Mike, to be honest with you, but my only question with this is, are we certain that if we're gonna remove these floors, that there's no asbestos?
We wouldn't be removing these,
We just going right over top. Okay, that was more my, because the word removed or replaced, and I think in my mind, I was like, we could get ourselves into a nightmare.
We would not be.
We start working on those, and that's
There's nothing underneath there.
just right over top. Okay.
Well, question for all of them, actually. You have estimates like from Tile Tech and so on. Are we going out to tender these after we approve them?
All depends on the pricing.
I'm sorry?
Depends on the pricing. I mean, these prices here, we would have to put it.
I just like to make sure that we have like,
We
especially,
would follow our policies and procedures.
especially with we have contractors in our area pays taxes. They had a chance to bid on it. That's all I want.
It's a good point for sure. Chris,
It's not even about money. I'm just worried if we did this, we'd render ourselves as council homeless all of a sudden because we're running out of places to put ourselves if we do think the floors are just something with them. How long is the work gonna take?
Through the chair to.
hoping that you'll be in your new facility shortly, don't know what mine, but.
That's tough.
The plan for a year to do this would be to have the pension, we would do it at the end of the summer.
Okay.
So that we would get through another year of our day camp. Which beats it up a lot, so we would probably do it September.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a deadline, we have a deadline. I didn't get any offense, I was just like, I just didn't figure out where we were gonna go next.
You're going to the top of what type of flooring and you plan to put in?
Fusion Smart Drop Elite Floor Tile. It's a Fusion Smart Drop Elite Floor Tile.
further questions, John? Anybody else at this table, Council?
Just, I don't know who to ask or who would know, but is this the original flooring that came with this building?
It's 30 years old at least. Years of life.
Do you wanna know?
43. I had my first dance here.
So do we get a 43-year warranty with our new floor?
Good luck with
No,
that.
serious.
No, we wouldn't get that one.
Get that on any. Okay, so it's staying in the budget, I'm getting that idea. I think I'm getting that idea. So I'm gonna read the recommendation. The recommendation is the committee recommends the replacement of the existing hall floor. with The new Fusion Smart Drop Elite floor tile at the South End, Community Center, that remains in the budget. Yeah, we're not approving anything. I just don't like the words. I just don't, because it feels like we're committing ourselves to Fusion Smart Drop Elite floor. If we do that. So that committee recommends the replacement of the existing hall floor with a new tile at the South Edwardsburg Community Center remains in the 2024 budget. I would prefer that, just so that we don't, I know the deputies asked that local people be able to bid on it and stuff, and I just don't wanna end up with the only person that has this product being Tile Tech, and it eliminate anybody from being able to bid on those jobs and excluding anybody that may be a township resident. So I need a mover for what I read as a recommendation. Somebody would move that. Councillor Snail, seconder, Councillor Ward. Further discussion? Stays in the budget. All in favor? Okay. 3 for 3, Mike. Mike in. All right, number 4.
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Mayor. So number 4, we're talking about the Cardinal tennis court / basketball court revitalization. Again, in conversation with CAO, other CAO over the last couple of weeks, and our president. In the spring of 2021, we applied for funding to have the both tennis court done. Able to convert it to tennis and football for here in Cardinal. That funding was unsuccessful. What we're proposing for this year is to do it in a 2-phase approach. For phase 1, where we would get some work done, removing the basketball court and putting a new court down, new nets up, and coding for the basketball court, and leaving the tennis courts so that we can see what the uptake is here for usage. We spent quite a bit of money on getting this one refurbished and revitalized, and then we'll be ready to go for the spring. So if we have an overabundance of people utilizing this one, that might give council a better idea of whether or not it's worth spending that type of money in the gardens. If the uptake is not good here, then it might be a good sign to say, you know what, the municipality has one tennis court, pickleball court facility available. It's in Johnstown, and if you want to play it, then that's where you're going to play it. So this is just an option to try we do have a lot of people that complain about the basketball courts as well as the tennis courts and things like that in Cardinal. So this is just an opportunity to potentially just do phase 1 and then monitor numbers here to see whether or not it's feasible to do it currently.
Just a couple of quick questions before I open it to the floor. So have we measured the basketball surface to see how many pickleballs it could potentially hold? You know what I mean? The smaller pad that's there that we're going to replace with 30. So that's all you could get is one pickleball court. You couldn't turn them sideways and get.
No, it wouldn't be.
I'm just thinking that the feasibility of having, 2 full tennis courts and full extra basketball court that arguably don't get a lot of use, having all of those instead of just having one that's multi-purpose. And so what if you have to wait an hour to get on the pickleball courts, right? Like I guess that's mine, is there a way to finagle them so that, or if it comes to line
I
painting.
think you would have potentially more conflict by having both of them. By having the one pad, because what happens if people are playing pickleball
some kids want to go play basketball.
Well, but I don't think that argument, I'm not gonna debate, it's not a debate, and I shouldn't debate, but I don't think that argument's any different than having somebody having to get in their car and drive to Johnstown to play cricket. So,
Play tennis.
or play tennis, so I'm just trying to find a way that we can do everything. Like, I've seen them in other places where they actually have the poles outside the fence, and the basketball hoop is the only thing that overhangs the court. You know what I mean? So at the bottom of the key, the fence is actually the bottom of the key, the outline, and they've made it so the basketball net's inside the courts as well, right? So you can use them for lots of multi use, and I'm just trying to find a way that we can do a lot for a living. Maybe create a new game, maybe a new game. And I guess my other question is I'm not an expert by any stretch, but the courts, short of those two areas where it appears that there's drainage that goes up there, don't appear to me to be in terrible shape. You know, they are raised, like they're a little pump and there's a crack there. Is there any way that we can, you know, shave that part out and then put a rubberized surface over top of them, or just have them repainted? Because I mean, the quality of those courts seems like, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like they're pretty high quality.
I'd have to, be quite honest with you, I'd have to come back to it. I'm not expert at that.
So the suggestion is we like, is it a paved court that's there that's been painted?
Yes.
So it would be just that we replace the.
Well, or the actual tennis court, or the actual basketball court is not. Like it's not open.
Okay, it's not coated at all, so it's just gonna be it's just gonna be repaved in line.
That's right.
And so will they dig up all of the old and replace, or will they just go right over top of what's there?
But the move was there.
Okay, that's my questions. Let's see what happens here. All right, discussion around leaving, it's 30,000, right? That's the number for this year, and that would pave that, and will it remove the old fence around the old tennis courts to get rid of that
That's
hazard?
what they do.
You're gonna leave the fencing the way that it is?
You're just doing the court, basketball court,
Just
Right.
basketball.
and new pavement on the basketball court,
That is correct.
all lettered and all that. So,
Okay, discussion, leaving it in the budget?
I'll leave it.
Yeah. Leave?
Yeah.
Leave, keep it for now?
they haven't got anything down here in a while.
You know, I like the idea of testing the future.
I remember your.
You got a township of 7,000 population, you can't keep having two of them.
Yeah, I hear you. Completely understand where you're coming from on this one.
Can't what? Sorry?
Can't have two of everything in the township of 7,000.
I completely understand where you're coming from. So 30,000 leave in the budget, general consensus is that the. Recommendation is the committee recommends that phase 1 of the revitalization project remain in budget, and that is just the resurfacing of the basketball court and new poles. And yeah, and as somebody who's around that often, they get a lot of, they do get used. I know the tennis court is a different debate, but the basketball court itself gets a fair bit of use. There's kids that want to use it even as part of the camps. I know Ava, right, uses it a lot, and with different kids, and they do get a lot of use. They're surprising. I was surprised, but when the hoops are in the shape they're in, yeah, it'll get used. That will get used for sure. Not so sure about sports, but that will for sure. So I certainly stand behind it. So if I can get a mover for that recommendation, Councillor Ward, seconder, Councillor Smale, then if there's no further discussion, I'll ask.
I did have just one, I just realized to ask, if it was a go, would it be done before sort of the summer starts or sort of after?
Gonna crack a joke, but I will. I'll save it for later. Sure. Okay, so moved and seconded, no further discussion, not seeing any, I will call the question on, the basketball court revitalization, all in favor? Or for? Number 5, Mike.
Number 5 is the Johnstown wall lights. There is a business case, that goes along with the approved budget approval recommendation. I'll just briefly just touch base on that. The existing lights and poles are nearing 40 years old. We have had to replace some of the valves and the lights over the last couple of years. The Johnstown ball diamond is by far our busiest diamond. Utilized at least 3 to 4 nights a week and sometimes more. Utilized on the weekends as well, and there are 2 to 3 tournaments that are here throughout the year. Johnstown Michael Ball is run really well by Mike Lindbergh and his group. And there are a couple of these also. So we did put out for tender in that closed in December 19th. We have a total of 7 companies that submitted bids. Financial considerations was to be part of the tax levy. And the recommendation is that the committee recommends that council award EC Rec 2307 for the installation of new poles and lights at the Johnstown Ball Diamond to Macmar Electric. Another $99,311.30 plus non-obligated HST amount of $1,747.80. Authorized up to a $5,000 contingency to be used at the discretion of the facility.
Awesome, thanks, Mike. Just one question and comment, and then I'll go to the floor for that. So the tender closed on the 19th of December. Is there an expiry date on the tender?
The work is to be completed by
Okay, so. Yeah, so they
If you want us to-
want to get it going, right?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, that's,
there's a 6 to 8 week window. That's why I'm asking for pre-budget approval.
Yep.
So that the lights can be installed and ready to go for the fall season. It's 6 to 8 weeks on every time we get the poles.
Yep.
The poles will be on the down, but what they put up here. So the wall work. Using less poles than what was.
oh, sorry. We don't want to-
It's that, so the quote's now up for 60 days.
60 days. Okay, so we're used up 30.
Correct.
Yeah.
In fact, we used up a little bit more.
I think I know where this is going anyways, but.
Yep.
So, before I say that, I'm just gonna say that, you know, with all of these things for so long, and we'll see it with the bleacher units, we've, you know, done 0% budgeting for a long time, and we haven't maintained some of the things that, you know, the easy things to push off. And I think, you know, this is showing a commitment to the folks that if we continue and we do the things that they're asking for, we really want to see that increased usership. We really want, you know, to make, we're gonna make our part of the commitment, and we're hopeful that, you know, that we continue to grow those, you know, recreational components by committing back to the things that we've heard aren't adequate or haven't been maintained to the ability that they could be. And, you know, this really represents a lot of the things that we've said that we want to see improved, right? So, I think that this speaks, as much as I don't love the numbers, it speaks towards some of the things that we've heard as groups that we need to fix so that people will use it. So I think moving this forward will go along with towards us doing our part. Now the users have to do their part if we move it forward. So having said my piece, I'll open the floor to discussion. You're gonna go? Did you want to go into? Okay, so go ahead, Deputy, and then Chris.
Just, when was this? I hate to say it, but this project was pre-budget approval. When was that? Was I here?
It's right.
So it's now that we're pre-approving, okay. When I read that, I guess I'm reading it wrong, the project already has pre-budget approval, okay.
Well, we moved it to this meeting.
Yes, okay.
So, yeah,
So just, so we had come to, I think we had noted in maybe an update, or maybe in one of the meetings in the fall, that, that we were gonna go ahead to tender.
Yes.
So,
Tender.
yes.
Yeah.
So it was,
Yeah, thank you, yeah, I just. Caught me off there.
yeah, so we would be pre-budget approving it tonight.
Correct.
And so that the work would be done by the end of April, correct? End of April, yeah. So if we approve it tonight, they're gonna get a roll right away. So, Counselor Smith.
I just have a question for, the record. For Brett. You're getting wooden poles?
Sorry?
Are they wooden poles you're gonna be installing? They're not? Good. Just don't wanna know.
Down what's.
Okay.
Hey,
Two questions if I could through the mayor. Did we price out option two?
Option two.
Option, the other option is only replacing the damaged bulbs and brackets with the on the design.
Yeah, that's, well, I mean, it's not a point of being able to price that, it's whether or not we can get that availability of the product. Because there's no other case.
if I may, it was in the last budget though, was it not? What
No,
that
that was
was
for
for us? Well, that was for, sorry, yeah, but it was hot. Even for there, yeah.
So that leads to my second question. Where do these lights stand in relation to the lights in Spencerville and the lights in Cardinal? Are we looking at the next 5-10 years replacing those also?
Through the chair to Councilor Martel, Cardinal. I don't know what we're doing with that, because that time, the time hasn't been used there for the last 2 years now. So, unless there's programs that are going to be started there, don't know that we would be looking at, not that programs couldn't play ball there, but they wouldn't be able to utilize the lights. Right now, the lights are working, but they may not work in a year's time. Spencerville, they have these cement poles. The pictures are still in good shape, so we're probably good there for a number of years. The actual poles themselves won't be an issue there. If anything there, so you would just be changing the lights themselves. For the LED, which is similar to what we're doing.
Awesome, thank you.
I think, and to add maybe if you're okay with that, I know last year there was some question about, the lights in Cardinal, and the commitment was there on behalf of the last council to, to do the work on it, just the usership was never there to do it. So when the users came and asked and said, we're not gonna be able to use this, do it, we made the commitment, we did the lights for the user groups, and then they weren't used. So the lights are good now, they were replaced. The ones that weren't working and the ones that, that were of concern, in fairness to the staff, the budget was used to repair and do the maintenance that was asked. Then the users never used the park, so.
So if I may segue onto that, why is this diamond in your opinion used and the other two not as much?
Yes.
Yeah.
That through the chair to, it's the bubble. It's the commitment by 5 or 6 people that live there in this municipality and are in this area. I'll put Mike Lindbergh's name up there. He's the one that, he's spearheads it all. And he does have a great group of 4 people that work with him. But they started with 2 or 3 teams. Now I think they have 6 teams here, maybe 7 teams. And they don't have that in Spencerville. They have 3 teams in Spencerville that utilize the backend, which is not ours, right? It's very, Cardinal, Roxanne Meadow did a great job, and she ran her programs, but when she stepped aside, no one really stepped in to take over for the program that she ran, because she had, I think, 4 or 5 teams at one time. So, but it's just not there. So Johnstown is the 4th.
What's that? All I know is like the center of Labor Day, right?
Absolutely.
But, you've got less people playing, you've got a tournament in North Augusta that, goes really well that same weekend, and, a lot of those same teams used to play both tournaments.
And you may see some youth coming back. I'm talking to some people down in Cardinal, Roxanne Reynolds looking at maybe getting a team like Stephanie, have the play ball, people coming in. We're getting a lot of people, new people, so we're not gonna just close the doors on these,
Well, and
we can understand, like you said, we're not gonna
We
use
still
it,
make,
not gonna use it.
we still work it up like every other week, so if someone actually didn't need to go and use it as a,
Mhm.
all that, it's available.
We use it all the time.
Just the lights are not,
But we're
you
not
know,
lights.
you've got some halogen lights, you've got some LED lights.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's
it's
matching
kind of
everything.
Mixed bag of goods, if you turn the lights on, it's bright in some areas and it's brighter in others.
All right, I'm just gonna bring this back to a conclusion, though, we can have a discussion about the cardinal lights. Any other, this night is to move the recommendation that the director of facilities are Chris.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for bringing it back to this. So on with where it says, I mean, and I agree with what the mayor was echoing, and I think the conversation along the way about, there's a lot of stuff happening here, and baseball's happening here, and we're trying to make this place look nice, and I think redoing the floors, various things, redoing the pool, adding pool heat, all these things are contributing in this point, so I think we're contributing to making this a bit of a a hub here, and I think it's, it's a big number, it's a bigger number than we want to see, I'm sure, but, I think it's gonna keep on there for sure, at this point in time, and moving along, so.
It's the smallest of other larger numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so, the recommendation has been read. This is for pre-budget approval. Once approved, the order goes in, and hopefully the work is completed by the end of April. Everything's available, right? So everybody knows, lots of good discussion. Is there further comment or discussion on the item before I call the question? Or no, I have to move in second, right? Okay, so I need a mover for that. Moved by Councilor Ward. I need a second before. Seconded by Councilor Smale. Further discussion, if any? None, I'll call the question. All in favor? Hands up. Yeah, good. Okay, so we're good. Bleacher units, number 6.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. This business base was revitalized and revamped. Some of the current people on the table saw this back in 2022, I believe, and it didn't get the required participation that I thought it was gonna get, so we'll see how it goes this year. So basically, it's talking about the existing bleachers that we have at some of our ballparks are, again, some are like some of our picnic tables are starting to age. Not the actual steel frames themselves, but the cover cost of replacing the lumber and what have you, the paint and that. These units that I'm recommending that we put in to these 5 locations. And they would have the facility to be able to move them if we had events at other areas. Like the bass fishing down to Waterfront, actually we got 2 of the bigger units down, the bleachers. These units would be a lot easier to maintain and put in place, so. That's the recommendation of this be funded through.
And that's it, Mike?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Unless there's any questions. I've given you a picture of the units.
Yeah.
If anyone's ever been into North Grunwald, Riverside Park, they have their 3 ball lanes.
Okay, and just bear with me. Will we get rid of all of the existing ones? Is that the ultimate suggestion, or because this is 10 new ones?
Yeah, we wouldn't get rid of them all. We would definitely move some of our older ones and take them.
Okay, and when, I mean, I know we're replacing and sanding and fixing boards and stuff like that on them. Is there any consideration of doing that with composite instead of like repairing the ones that we have with composite as opposed to wood?
No, we haven't looked at that, to be quite honest with you.
Because I know like with benches and stuff, right, they're all composite, they last them 50 years, no maintenance.
Yeah.
It just seems like, you know, if those structures are actually still sound,
Summer.
somewhere, that it might be worthwhile when they need to be fixed up, that we fix them up with composite. Okay, so, but that's not part of this, so this is for, it's not for pre-budget approval, this is just to keep it in the budget for next.
That is correct.
Okay, so everybody knows that. The recommendation is the committee recommend that the bleachers remain in the 2024 budget. Let's do discussion. Okay. Councilor Smith?
Well, please, you were talking about the ones that aren't structural safe, I didn't well go. Let you know that it's cold.
I wouldn't hold it against you.
I'm just wondering, when you're saying 2 units for each ball diamond and at the pool. The pavilion is a pool and Cardinal, so if you put 2 bleachers, you at each end, or if you put them beside each other, you're still gonna have a very big opening in that pavilion. Would there be any chance of moving some of them other picnic tables up in there, so people would have seats there as well?
Through the chair to, sorry, Councilor Snail. Yes, well, actually, what we would probably do is we have, one at the Cardinal pool, we would put one of the sets in front of the baby pool. And then we would take one of the units, there's currently 4 really big bunker sets over along the south side of the pool. We would replace, we would put one in and take one of the existing ones in.
No.
So they're not all being removed because we purchased these, would just be replaced with some of the older ones. More of the Carnival and older ones. And the ones in Swepsel are the balls are actually wooden, they're not steel frame. And they get moved quite a bit because of the fair, and they get and few units will be much safer now because
The yeah, go ahead, one sec. So I think I heard the suggestion would be that one of the higher. These ones are nowhere near as high as the existing, right?
that is correct.
So that would work side by side.
That's correct.
The like the higher set would work okay beside the aluminum set. Yeah. Okay. I don't have anything more. I don't know if I'm good with this, but. Councilman?
Just through the chair to the record, 320 people, these would seat, what does that represent for like our capacity on what we have now?
More than enough.
So if you would get 10 of these at 32 people each, it's 320 people, right? To all the bleachers combined we have now, how many people would they hold roughly? We're talking, is this half of our bleachers, a third of our bleachers?
I would say that it would be about a third.
Cool, thank you.
But if you go to a lot of our facilities, when there's events, the bleachers are not even.
Yeah, they're not full.
But you bring all lawn chairs and what have you, so.
So one thing you did say is that these are more like they're easier to move, they're more manageable. So like if you know, Spencerville Fair wanted the ones that are around the pool and cart, is the suggestion that they could be moved out and placed along a parade route so that people could have a viewing section for a parade or something like that. Yep, so that's cool. Yes.
Perfect time, Mr. Mayor. So the removable, that worries me as well because they're stealable too, are they? Is there a way you fasten them to the ground or is it, or do you think I'm just, I just worry, it's like,
It's a valid point. We would look at potentially putting them in areas where we can be chained, not that people can break the chain, right? So I know, like, again, in speaking with people that know, remember, they've had no issue. And I walk by part of that, up in that area pretty much every day, and there's never. Not that it can't happen.
no, I would say, maybe.
I'd be more concerned about our picking tables than the police, quite honestly.
Okay, good. All right, so is there further comments or questions? All right, seeing none, so there is a recommendation that it just stay in the budget for now, right? The recommendation reads that the committee recommends that the bleachers remain in the 2024 budget. Mover? Seconded? Councilor Smith, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Should that first. Well done, Mr. Spencer. Good job. All right. We are on to the 2024 draft fire department budget and the fire station 2 revision. And this side, or Chief Moore, you're gonna speak to it? All right, let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm here with a revision to the request that number one. Scope has been scaled back to include concept design only to be funded from the fire department building reserve. At budget meeting one, the committee was presented with a business case for fire station design and consulting based on costs and similar projects in the area. Committee members inquired with the potential to utilize the region consistent fire station design to reduce consulting and engineering design expenses. Meeting staff reached out to the engineering firm that designed the Camp new station in Toledo to explore this option. The firm indicated that starting with the existing design could result in cost savings. Although less expensive than starting from scratch, a significant amount of work is still required compared to design for a new site. Items such as the site plan layout, utilities, code compliance, improvements from the original design, and any adjustments to meet our needs must all be incorporated. We move on to the procurement policy, define single source as non-competitive procurement process to acquire goods and services from a specific supplier. Policy further scopes the circumstances where single source may be used, and items A to G below. Weighing the factors and understanding that cost savings could exist through single source procurement, staff will recommend proceeding to a competitive bid process for conceptual design services for fire stations with the features listed. The conceptual design process will allow the committee to see the proposed building and provide additional information required to make an informed decision before moving forward with any next steps. Now, the diagram showing a list of towns, it means the site plan superimposed on our proposed site.
Good. Thank you for that, Chief. Just one question before we move in. There's a considerable difference between what the ask was as far as financials. This time it's 100,000 now versus 350 before. And second is this one. This one includes the comparison to I think the Augusta one and the Prescott one, both that are at 14,000 square, and this one's just under 9,000, and says that it's more compatible with what we're looking at. What kind of square footage are we looking at?
Chair, I would say we'd be looking at approximately that size.
Yeah.
And I think that's the idea of going through this process. Every time we talk with the merits of different features, and I think having the committee involved in that process, and then we'll come up with a product I'm happy with, and then we can decide.
Okay, and I'm getting your recommendation is that we don't bother, that we've used what we can from Elizabethtown Kitley, is that? And you still want to go to a competitive bid process so that we don't tie ourselves to their project and their firm.
To the chair.
Okay, yeah, just want to make sure I understand it correctly. Okay, discussion. Nobody?
Yeah. That's fine. I appreciate what we're doing here, and we just came back from Rome, which I'm sure somebody will talk a little bit about at some point today as well. But so, and one of the things that we kept talking about in the various funding things out there is something shovel ready, have something ready to go. And so, moving this along to the point where we get to that point, in other programs, but this one in particular, getting it to that point so that we can say, you know what, let's just press the go button on it. Yeah, let's do it as far as I'm concerned. I think that's it.
Well, through the chair to the fire chief, is the fire department stuck on the property that we want to build it on? I'm asking this because in my opinion, I think that's the only place that the village of Cardinal needs to put a grocery store. There's lots of land that could be purchased to put the fire hall on, like the Dodge farm right up front there that nobody uses the front end. It's got water and everything, water and sewer. And that's my opinion, but I mean, I'm all for the fire station if everybody wants one, but I just don't like the location where you want to put it. let you know.
I just for, before we continue on with that part of the discussion, I'm looking to this side, there is no recommendation for this.
Through the chair, fair enough, I would say the recommendation would be, to keep the revised, amount, within the 2024 budget, the 100,000.
Okay, and I'm just gonna look to staff then to build up. Have we sold ourselves the old arena location as to the fire hall location? Future locations, or are we holding it specifically?
Through the chair, there was discussion early on in this process of potential spots for that fire station. And I think the feeling was at the time with that area where the former arena was, sort of made the most sense, where there's no additional purchase price for the land or sort of anything of that sort. And that's been sort of the premise that we've been doing with over the last few years.
Yeah.
So.
And correct me here if I'm wrong, but I think we've already done we haven't done any brownfield, but we've done the testing to find out what we would need to do to brownfield, right? Clean it up.
Through the chair, I'm not familiar with that term, but we've done a survey. And we've done an environmental. assessment.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So I'm correct in thinking that we've spent money, the location is doable. There is a small amount of remediation that needs to be done to that site. Yeah, so I don't know that we're locked to that site, Counselor, but it's certainly been, a part of an ongoing discussion for quite a few years, I think, at this point. I think it precluded me in my first term, so. Further discussion? Yep.
Yeah, so there's no recommendation. But in our budget, it says for engineer and design of fire station $200,000. So is that what that pre-budget is gonna be used for engineering and designing? Duly chair to the CEO.
Right, so what we're looking at is to get the conceptual design and engineering done for that.
And the diag and the blueprints and so on and so forth, up to 100,000.
Up to 100,000.
So, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, at this point, I'm gonna speak and listen. John, did you want in? I didn't see your hand, I don't wanna speak over you. So, I just wanna compliment the chief and staff. I mean, at last meeting certainly said that, I would not always vote, but at that point I was not on option 1, I was on option 2 solidly. And, like Councillor Ward said, and after much consideration, I think, especially hearing about, no funding out there for, unless you have a shelf ready design, something that you're ready to go at a moment's notice for. So, while I think what we have is adequate to continue for now, I do think that we have a responsibility, certainly to be ready. And this gets me to where I think, we can at least get something so that it is ready in case, that partner comes along to help us get to where you want to get us. I fully respect, what the need is or what you want us to approve. I think that moving it down and getting it to where it's something that's valuable for, I hope, the rest of the table, but certainly this is for me. I think that this accomplishes both things. It gets us where we have something that we can grab and that we're ready at a moment's notice when that, much needed funding comes in. And I think at some point we'll be able to use that and know exactly what the number is, because I know the longer we wait, the more expensive that project gets. So I do understand that. But I think, this step gets us one or, another season closer to that ultimate goal, of getting that replacement done, and I think. You know, it's not a huge hit to this budget. I think it's an easily approvable thing in this budget to have that item ready so that you know and we know what we're committing to before we do it, and hopefully. You know, a good partner comes along so that we can get that project done and that everybody is, you know, satisfied with the end result. So thank you for the work that you did to bring this back. I appreciate it. So, anyone else want to weigh in then before I call the question? And I'll move over, or I'll make the recommendation. The recommendation is that the $100,000 for the conceptual design and engineering remain in place for the 2024 budget. So, moved by Councilor Martel, seconded by Chris Ward. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Got there. Good. Thank you. All right, Public Works budget. It's like that 1,000. Who will speak to the draft Public Works budget? Or there's 4 that could. So, Gord, you're going to speak to it. So then we're on. I believe so. It's item D, which is the budget, and then I believe it's number 1 for the Holder sidewalk plan. Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Fire.
Mr. Mayor, so this is an action item, to request Council Don to purchase a new older sidewalk plow. Despite the late arrival of winter and fairly mild to begin with, 2023, 2024 is providing some reliability issues with the township's 2005 model sidewalk plows. Had multiple breakdowns this year, attributed to wirings, we had some hydraulic issues. And so it's staff scrambling to obtain parts and services. We've also had some issues with getting some of the maintenance work done by the contractor. The regular contract we had was gone away invitation, still not returned. And we used to send Holder used to send out mechanics to do PMs on that equipment, and they don't do that anymore. There's also a couple of weeks backlog to take the Holder to them. Just scrambling with that mechanical. So the considerations, the financial considerations, were that basically the staff and we got 2 quotations for sidewalk plows. One was from Holder, for $157,000 for $157,640 plus HST. With a delivery time of 2 to 3 weeks. Got a verbal quotation for a tractor sidewalk plow and $190,000. We've asked for a written and not received. Payment for the new unit could be through taxation, reserve, combination, or short-term venture, so we do that at a 2020 grader purchase. The grader will be paid for mid recommendation that maybe recommend the council purchase a new older sidewalk plow and its access for a total of $157,640 plus non-rebating HST and cover the cost of the short-term fix.
Thank you, Gord, for that. I guess I'll just ask the treasurer first. For short-term debenture, what are we talking about for a short-term debenture? 5 years, 8 years, 2 years, 3 years?
It could be a multitude of things. I think if I went to, I certainly wouldn't. I would look at more traditional financing through like RBC or Scotia or more banking institutions. So I think we would have a 3, 4, 5 year term with rates reported.
And so if we were doing a 3 or a 5 year, have we looked at what the rate would be? Are we looking at prime or are we looking at prime plus?
I have.
Because if we look at prime plus, they're getting close to probably 8 to 10% at that point, right? That's a lot of, that's a lot for financing, just especially when we don't necessarily need to. Right, yeah, okay. So, but we're asking, this is for a pre-budget approval. Right, ultimately, this is because we've got 2 machines that aren't performing to the best of their abilities, and this will give us 1 machine that's new and we'll guarantee that, you know, deployment is taken care of, right? So, okay, so I'm gonna ask a question, and I'll save everyone else from having to ask it. At times, right now, we move one machine, and we drive that machine down Blitzton Road to Cardinal, back and forth, which I don't love. This machine is the expectation that this machine would be deployed in, say, let's say Spencerville, and that its home will be Spencerville. And can somebody assure me that if we buy a new machine, that it won't be driving down Pittston Road to plow roads in Cardinal? Nobody wants to answer that question.
No, well,
I'm just gonna say first, I don't think the votes are made.
I certainly cannot say that no matter what the circumstances, that the new unit may not have to be used at both locations.
Okay, but that's not what I
But I
said.
don't, but I know what you,
I just asked that it not be driven to both locations.
and we are working through, looking at, the flatbed that would be able to transport that. We do not have the trailer for that older unit that we could actually transport that. Say. Just due to the weight of it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I'm gonna let the conversation play out a little bit then, and I'll try my way in a bit afterwards then, because I just want to make sure that we're all where we need to be. So, you got your hand waving, no, did you want to speak?
Well, yeah, first of all, we have a tractor here. The total is, I don't know, what is it, 178,000 taxes in, right? We have a tractor, we have a blower, we have a dump buggy, we have a plow, and a sander. How do we put that all on one? And run that? The PTO, so the plow's gonna be, or the blower's gonna be at the back, I presume. It's at the front. So what are you gonna do with the V plow? 55 inch golden V plow.
The extra equipment for it is because it's a different model. And old stuff won't fit on, so you need to re-outfit. They typically will sell a tractor by itself. You buy whatever accessories you want. Some people may want different things, they might want just a blower on it.
And I realize that, so why do we need a $10,000 blower? We never had one.
We do, good chair,
We have a blower
we have one.
and it doesn't plow, it blows.
We have a plow and a blower.
So you take it off. So now we're gonna have 2 and 2, then 2 of each, 2 plows, 2 blowers
Correct.
with
because
these
it's
2.
different.
Or no, we're gonna have 3, I guess. Are they all? Okay,
2 blowers, one blower currently, but it will not go on to.
okay.
You don't want to flip the one.
So this new one, you're only gonna keep it, you're gonna use it for blow if you need to, or plow, I guess.
Sure, that's correct, and you mentioned that putting it in Spencerville, I would suggest that probably would stay in Cardinal, because Cardinal has a lot more sidewalks.
Oh, I agree, they got more sidewalks, yeah, I 100% agree with that, should be in Carter. And, but I mean, I'm like the mayor, I don't wanna hear, Council Ward call me and say, hey, it just went down my road.
Through this year, we also had trouble getting hold of contractor. They've been making multiple calls out and haven't got a return.
I'm sorry?
So the chair, I've called about 3 different towing companies. I've been done with 2 of them, I heard from one of them today. And it's out of, basically out of them, so we call them, they drop it off, and then we'll sit and wait until they can pick it up again. Not necessarily convenient. Anything we look at.
No, but why not just go purchase a trailer if we're gonna use it? From one place out to the other cart, if you know, the one breaks down in Spencerville. Load the one cart on a trailer with their 4x4 pickup trucks and go down to Spencerville.
Sort of through the chair, the way of the machine, if we need like a DZ licensed truck with a trailer, you're able to load that on, and you don't have equipment. You think with the way of the trailer, yeah, you need proper licensed person to operate it. You don't have, like, the operator right now cannot load that up, and we don't have a vehicle to get it on to a trailer to where it has to go.
Did you want to speak, CA?
Help.
Ultimately, with this new unit here, we would have a unit in Cardinal and a unit in Spencerville.
Right.
It's the whole intent of having two units with
Right.
the ability to deploy into the sidewalks
Mhm.
so that there wasn't delays. Unfortunately, the circumstance that we're in now, we're down to keeping one operational,
Right?
and we're trying to make the best of it. We don't like the fact that it's traveling the distances that it's traveling, and we're trying to work through that, and hopefully it seems like it's a very short lead time to have a new unit here and available if we proceed, so that we can get back to what we would consider a more normal operation. I get the concerns, and I do.
So, I just want to know one second. So we're asked to pre-budget approve this tonight. If we approve this tonight, are we guaranteed that it's gonna be on the streets next week doing the job? I know it says 2 to 3 weeks, but I mean, if 3 weeks turns into 6, that's the end of winter, and it's useless to us. So,
Yes,
like, if it's in stock and it's ready to go, are we gonna have it?
my understanding is that we're looking at 2 weeks for us to receive that unit. I certainly get what you're saying. We'll say worst case scenario that it is 4 weeks. Then we have that deployment ready to go in the fall to start seeing our plan or effort is to get that in service within 2 weeks for, probably the 4 to 6 weeks of winter left. If all possible.
I know, but. And I appreciate that, Mr. CEO. So, and I'm all for it, or you got my vote. I mean, we're down and out, we need one. So we get the new one, it's in Cardinal, because we have more sidewalks in Cardinal, that makes sense. We take the 2, trying to make 1, that makes sense? Is that right? And it's a 2205? Where's the 205 stay? Don't tell me that Council Ward's gonna call me and say, hey, I just saw the 205 go by my street on Pittston Road. Like, can we get Omni Shed? I think they're there's quite a few more we can get it or canister or something to take that 205 and move it right to Spencerville. Somewhere, and in the summertime, or when it's done, pick up the snow blower, take it back to Piston, get it ready for fall, take the riding lawnmowers and put it up in the shed. Or canister.
Is there a way that it can stay?
Is there any way you can do that? Or does that make sense? I just don't want council board calling me, that's all. So.
So I think the question is gonna be deployed and stay in Spencerville.
And stay in Spencerville, not Pittston.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
You sort of can, that would be sort of additional costs, get a seat, and I would suggest. Name the shed, so they've got a seat in.
I understand.
Put it on the floor, but we also need to heat it somehow, because now we can take it inside and warm it up with diesel, so if it would start on hold, put in things. We can definitely put something out to, we can put it beside the pumping station, that's what I'm in. And provide the lights and something, and that addition.
Yeah, I understand it's gonna be a cost of the canister, or the on shed or whatever, I understand that.
It was the one thing that comes from Pittsburgh, salt. So, to refill up, so, yeah, it might change operations, but that one, like the motor fill up. Right now, we're currently the old time, that two individuals.
Understand that too.
It just makes it. But.
Two.
Thank you, through the chair. What I can commit to is, for, having the unit located in Spencerville for the next upcoming winter season. We may be 2 or 3 weeks getting our second unit. We may have to limp by in the process that we're doing now. But the commitment will be there to get that resolved for the next upcoming.
For 2024 and 2025,
For the fall of 2024 and
2025, going forward.
You know, I wanna see if I can turn this,
So-
head just a little bit. Is this,
Is phone calls.
does it have to be? Does it have to be this? Like, is there other ways to do sidewalks? Like, can you do it with a Kubota tractor? Can you? I mean, I think once in our term, John, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think we saw suggestion that there would be a Kubota tractor used. Cab, lower. You know, the potential was there to do something like that. I don't remember what the costing was. But if the issue of transference of this one is that it's too heavy to put on a trailer. And that you need a different license, I'm pretty sure you can put a small Kubota tractor on there, no problem. And use it in any way you want, you can put gangs on it, sure, there's no salt, I get that, but. But is there a possibility to do something different? Other than, because we always go with this unit that gets used 3 months of the year, but is there something that's more utilitarian that can be used year-round?
Through the chair, I would say, yes, is there? I don't want to speak for stuff, but it's still having the older, like the whole unit like this is the appropriate to at least have one of those just from the narrow sidewalks. But I think I can comfortably say that the 2005, you know, take 2 and make into one is a Band-Aid. And, you know, we can certainly, look heavily, for that replacement to be a unit that may be used all season with respect to the cab, some type of, attachments for the winter, and then can be as an attachment that can be used for grass cutting in the summer.
Okay, and last one is, obviously, there isn't going to be a lot of value. We've got 2 of them. Obviously, one of them will be declared a surplus. I mean, I think we bought one of them from the city of Rockville as a used one. Is the idea that we will sell the old one to help pay down whatever the cost of this one is?
Gotta hope not, I hope we save it.
I'm not 100% sure what value there may be, but we may get more potentially if with the attachments that may be declared surplus in the unit. Let's sort of, lack of a better word, that the parts and everything are cabbage from the one and put on the other. I'm not even sure if it would be a unit that would
Both.
Get rid of both of them next year. Okay.
And
maybe a scrap.
probably a Kubota
You want to know?
in Spencerville.
Well, potentially for 2020.
I think you need to buy the new question about that, like we had tractors. Plowing for us. Like today, the ones in Spencer will take it off the ice. And Randy Norton had the small tractor doing that ice, but still from there, it was weight enough to shell it off. And Spencer was great, but when they had the blower on for soft snow, There, no place to put it, and go look it over in the yards, not have it all go filled up. That's the way to go. I'm the deputy mayor, my problem, been watching the holder getting more driving up and down the road. I know they might not be want to get a record to move it. Why not call Landex or State Light or one of the
Any better, yeah.
Kenny Beck? They got a float, they got a truck, they're not that big, ready this time of the year, they're float like they set them in the yard. Kenny Beck especially, I know he works with Fire and Start all the reading all the time, his truck and trailer is there half the time, so he's pretty accommodating.
Good. Like anyway, John, I appreciate it.
Okay, so did you, yeah, I did. So I think we also questioned the. Yeah. No, go.
Sorry, Mr. Ray, just, Mr. Hunter's comments there. The weight of the unit is part of the reason why they have them. A lot of times when the plow will go down the road first, throw a furrow up on the sidewalk, and for the lighter unit to get through that furrow of snow is pretty difficult, and that weight. Although it's a problem for transporting, it's part of the unit to help clear the top.
Yeah.
And then, these, I guess they're older units, we're buying from Carter, it looks like is the plan. I mean, these other two were 20 years old. But they're obviously, they have some longevity to them. The parts that concern me in the conversation about better development actually is quite here is this, the service aspect of it scares me, to be honest, as far as, having to, they don't come out here and do PMs on them anymore, for instance, and you can't just easily send it to get repaired, next or same day or within the same week even, it looks like. So, is there, and I'd hate to see it change, because it sounds like we trust this brand, and that's fair, you guys are the experts on it, not me, but, we need to find a way to get better service out of it, because these guys or somebody else, I don't know if that's something that is available for this unit, so.
Through the sheriff, there's only two people that I know, maybe the public works manager maybe more, there is the traffic. That what we have, and I think in the last time we were going to get it, 100 volt deployment, the traffic sometimes aren't that right, there's issues, articulation, getting them go, and more of it, but we're not sure if we can get any better service from them. We do have a mechanic local that does a lot of work on existing units. I don't know if the newer unit will be able to tackle the same thing, but I'm assuming there won't be the same problems. He works, but he's gone away on vacation for a few weeks, and unfortunately, when the trouble staff for sorts of maybe we found another mechanic that got one of the machines going. But and there's a backlog with the company, so I'm not sure on that type of equipment how reliable that's sort of sales. There's your warranty on a brand new.
Good. Thanks for that, Gordon. I appreciate the comments. There's certainly a ton of support at the table here. I don't think that we need to keep going any further than we're already going. I think I'm going to call the question, or I'm at least going to read the recommendation and call the question. If anybody wants to further discuss it, I'm going to get a move in a second. So the recommendation is that the committee recommend that council purchase a new holder sidewalk plow and attachments for a total of $157,640 plus non-rebated HST, and cover the cost through short-term debenture. And can I add in there or any possible other options? Is that
To the chair, if there's a little bit of reluctance with respect to short-term debenture, and I think at the end, like non-regulated DSD, when we determine funding source.
and determine funding source? Okay, so change the cost through short-term and determine funding source. Yeah, okay.
In the budget right now, we have it coming out of taxation.
Right. So it's not debentured, it's actually built into the costing that we have under 197.
And if we go short, if we do go to it, it comes out of capital.
Okay, so I've read,
So we did change that recommendation, or are we gonna talk about changing?
No,
well, I think, because what we changed it, well, the recommendation isn't moved in second. Right, yeah, so it doesn't need to be, right, I can read it and ask for a mover and a second, right? Yeah, okay. So after the HST, it was and.
And determine, funding source to cover the expense.
Like covers everything instead of one specific one. Okay. All right, so I need a mover for that recommendation.
so
Moved
no,
by Council Martell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dilbach. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing and seeing none, then I will call questions. All in favor? Unanimous. All right, get that bad boy ordered. All right, let's get those streets. Doesn't come with a driver too, does it? Sorry, I thought about it for a second and I was like, I can't do this. Yeah, I can't. You need a couple second break? Yeah, go ahead. We can continue there. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so, who's gonna speak to number 2, which is Weir Road Bridge Repair and Jordan, culvert? Go ahead, Gordon.
There. So this is the information item, basically, there were some questions brought up in the budget meeting, number 1, in regard to the River Bridge. Jordan will call it replacement and road construction program. So for the Rear Road Bridge rehabilitation, 2022 Ontario Structure Inspection Manual Bridge Inspection were provided. Within that first report, there was a recommendation in that report that the bridge remediation spanning 2023 and 2024. It recommended replacement expansion joints in 2023, followed by a majority of the work in 2024. Actually, council whether the work could be deferred to 2025 or whether it would work on effectively replacing the bridge and do rehabilitation. So the OSMI report replaced an estimate of $1,635,000. And after the detailed inspection in 2023, we prepared similar projects undertaken in 2022. The bridge inspector had indicated it was estimated to be in the order of $900,000 to $1 million for the bridge in the main. Mr. Quaid, who's a power engineer and director of Keystone Bridge Management, was consulted and provided the following statement of information. So he basically mentioned that the replacement value of the bridge in the 2022 report was based on 2020 data and certainly needs to be recalibrated and updated to recognize recent laboratory pressures. He suggested that $2 million plus is more realistic current all-in replacement value for the bridge. There's also consideration for the long-term disruption of removing the bridge and basically cut the with remediation or keep one lane open typically and when close to the new bridge would have a lifespan of at least 80 years, but as is the typical life cycle, they need a rehabilitation halfway through it. So this is basically the time with your road bridge. The life cycle cost of 100 years, which when they use for predictions and their calculations. The life cycle cost was on the rehabilitation of $1,076,000. We replace it now and rehabilitate 40 years. The 100-year life cycle cost $2,100,000. Clearly to your advantage to yeah. Of course, if you choose to replace, you would probably keep the existing bridge in service, only minimal maintenance and progress for its replacement. I'm not positive, but I think that's what happened. The county spoke with the original side of that, you have to replace it. So
Yeah, the restrictions.
yeah, we get to that point.
I know.
Yeah.
Like I know.
And then you have to. This is premeditated for maintenance.
This gets us 50 years. For less money.
Minimum, say it minimum
50 years for half a month.
for minor.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yes.
I don't, it seems backwards. to me. That, like,
No, but I think, I mean, especially when you read what's written down here now, or at least how I read it anyways, is, you know, the whole concept of buying a bridge almost implies that you're gonna have at the midway point, put some money into it. Otherwise, we would just say, you know what, the bridge only lasts 40 years and replace it every time, right? So it doesn't make any sense to do that, do that a lot more, and so, you know, again, this is just that time that needs to happen, and, you know. I think I made my feelings clear last time, go bridge, so there we go, that's all I gotta say.
Gold Bridge could mean several things, Chris. Do you mean
I
rehab a
mean,
bridge or building a bridge?
Right.
Yeah, I'd be scared there for a second. John? You want to know this or no?
Oh, I repair
Repair the bridge.
What's that?
it, put it in there, so.
We built it, they won't come.
Any comments? Okay, so again, I'm gonna look to staff. There is no recommendation with this. But I don't think that there's gonna be any issue with this, and I'm gonna assume that Jordan Road, I don't think anybody's gonna do, shirk our responsibilities for keeping things safe and moving them forward. So, I mean, we've already done this one.
They're both funded.
It's funded, right? It's OCIF dollars. It's ultimately gonna pay for this.
Right.
Can we make the recommendation that it be included in the 2024 budget now and be done with it?
Certainly,
Yeah.
certainly.
All right, so
Both, Jordan and Terry?
can we, I don't know how the Jordan Road discussion is gonna go. I can't imagine it's gonna go any different, but should I move this one now or should I wait until the two?
I think you can move the railroad bridge.
Okay, so that, I'm just gonna move, I think this is an easy discussion actually at this point, so. That the Weir Road rehabilitation. So that would be the $900,000 suggested project, be included. I don't think we need to go back to this again. I think this is staying in the budget. I think I've heard very clearly from everyone that we need to do this and it needs to move forward. So I don't want it just, left in, but I think we're giving it the approval to stay in. That's the way I want the recommendation, very clear, okay? So I need a mover for that recommendation. Councilor Ward, second by Councilor Martell, further discussion? None, all in favor? Yeah, that's there we are. Okay, that one's done. And I'm gonna do the same after the Jordan Road one, and then we can talk for a half hour on roads. Jordan, and
Is it past Jordan or no?
sorry,
We just passed Weir Road.
no, just Weir Road, yeah, just Weir Road. So, do you want to do the culvert for Jordan Road culvert replacement? Them as well.
So, inspection of the Jordan Road triple culvert, the township drainage superintendent resulted in a recommendation of the impact replacement in 2024. That's going to cost us $382,607.70. Council questioned whether an alternative manner of replacement may be more cost effective, including period replace line or bottom culvert. Drainage superintendent was consulted and provided comments. Relining, there are a number of risks, including the water, limited number of contractors, and hydraulic changes that would require a report and review as conservation authority. Anytime you change anything in the waterway conservation authority, as long as it's not in kind, they typically would want that actually reports us. Due to the size of these pipes, it would not be feasible to complete the replace or form. Full and form liner, see, MTO professional technology selection guide. Full and form liner, anything diameter 1,000 millimeters or is likely not feasible. Third place liners, anything diameter of 1,500 millimeters or more, flag slightly not feasible. Box culverts would require geotechnical investigation, and I would assume that's the area of swamp and subsurface conditions would not support a box culvert without deep foundation. Just for reference, the 3 culverts involved here are 1,800.
Big ones. Okay, thank you. There's again no recommendation, but I think we'll move something forward at the end of this one. So I get the sense that we're not, when this needs to be done, and we're gonna move it. Counselor Hunter, do you wanna start? Is there anything that I know you suggested the box culvert before. Is there, do you?
Box covered there,
Sorry. I felt cancer. Sorry, I didn't mean to. My apologies.
Depends on the soil. They have deep foundations, so it's way too expensive.
Yeah. Counselor Ward? Nothing. Alright. Listen, anyone? Everyone's in support of what's there, then I see them nodding their heads. All right. So then, the recommendation would be that, I don't think we need to revise this one. I think it's clear that, you've gone back and done the work to, look at the box and look at the lining as council had asked before. I appreciate that you did that. The tri-pipe, I think we're all pretty convinced that that's the right way to go, and it's pretty clear around the table. So, I don't think we need to see this in future revisions, just include it. So, that that the Jordan Road culvert replacement, at an estimated cost of $282,067.78, be included in the 2024. See a nodding from the clerk, that's fine. Yep. Okay, and so I'll ask for a mover. Deputy Mayor Dillabaugh moved, seconded by Councillor Chris Ward. Further comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question then. All in favor? Good. All right, so that one's done too. All right, and so. Okay, so we are on to. I'm gonna look to the CAO. All right, so I always see this one as the part that's gonna, I know we've been here for 3 hours. It doesn't feel like that, sorry. But I always see the road discussion as there's a bit of, it's not always as simple as what's put in front of you. And that there are going to be, potential political discussions involved in data-driven decision-making. That's part of the process. It is the way it is. There's future projects outlined. There are, the ones that have been left in the budget, and I believe that, there's a combination of reasons for that, but it ultimately got us really close to the number that we asked staff to investigate and bring back. Do you want staff to speak to why they're in there, or do you want to just let the discussion happen and see what goes?
Through the chair, I would. So I would say that there are two roads, Edison and Toad Branch, that are, for lack of a better word, not. They should be in.
Okay.
They're already.
Can I stop you there then for a second?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just stop, because I think maybe we can just do that quickly. Okay, so we all know Edison was to be done last year. The year before.
I believe 2 years ago, but with the.
Yeah, not last year.
Upgrades, the upgrades to, or the new, distribution center at Prison Gable and Greenfield Global with their expansion. We wanted them using, Edison Drive as the main source of heavy traffic, because we had just completed, Commerce Drive, so we wanted to give that in mind, but it's due. It was probably close to being needed before all of that activity, but it certainly is due. It's been in the budget. It's a WIP project.
The WIP, right?
Correct. There's
Yeah.
no
already
cost
costed.
of taxation.
Okay.
Right. It's already been taxed for that.
Okay, so I'll just stop it there. So everybody understands it's already been costed out. It's already been budgeted, but just never been whipped. It never got done in years past. So, anyone want to comment on it further before I? Okay, so then the recommendation would be that Edison Road be included in the 2024 budget. Can I have a mover? Councillor Martel, seconded by Councillor Smale, all in favor.
Yeah.
Okay, Edison Road's decided. Totem Ranch Road is a combined project.
That is a joint project with North Granville. There was the road prep last year and and with the anticipation that this year the asphalt would be going down and we'd be splitting that cost 50/50.
Okay, and my question only is, it's not surface treatment, it's asphalt. So we're getting rid of a gravel road and actually getting rid of a stretch of gravel road and making it asphalt.
That is correct. And part of that relates to the businesses on that particular stretch. That the feeling was that the surface treatment is probably not the best route. I'm sure that advisory member Mr. Hunter would prefer that asphalt over surface treatment.
Well, I can say that if this passes, it may be the first road that's gone from gravel to full asphalt in my full term of council. And we've all talked about it every single year, that we were going to convert gravel to asphalt, but I don't remember another one that it's happened to. So, maybe wrong.
Not in your period.
Not in
our term?
Not in your.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, okay, so a collaborative effort, we share management of it with North Grenville. All the prep work done last year, budgeted last year. This part is to complete that project to the best of our knowledge. North Grenville plans on moving forward with this as well. It hinges on North Grenville moving forward.
Correct. North Grenville is the lead on the project. And our understanding is that it's included in the budget,
I think
at least at this point. So.
All right, so good project, and it's good that we can work together, and good that they're taking the lead, and that we're gonna fund our portion of it. Is there more discussion before I move, or I ask for a mover for our conclusion? No? Okay, so then the recommendation would be that the Totem Ranch project, I don't know what the cost was, 103 something, I think. Whatever.
I believe the Totem Ranch is
125,638.
125,638, then be included in the 2024 budget. And need a mover. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Chris Ward. Further discussion, anyone? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, we got those two out of the way, dude. Or CAO. Now we're doing okay.
So just be sure, is everybody on like page 2 of 43?
I'm
The
not.
summary, the funding analysis. I think it would be best if we went there.
I'm on that page now. What would you like us to focus in on?
So if you're partway down the page, you'll see Edison and then Totem Ranch Road East.
Correct.
Okay. So the remaining roads that the staff put together to include in this budget were a combination of based on a need, like the highest priority need. Some of the discussions with respect to some members of council with respect to Armstrong and Rock Street, and then the selection of a particular area to be done, sort of a quadrant this year, and the quadrant chosen was Cardinal, and part of the reason in choosing that quadrant is that you get away from having sort of a mobilization and a demobilization and then a mobilization and a demobilization. If you start doing certain roads all through the township, so that was kind of some of the premise behind clumping an area together. So that is that's the reasoning behind why those were included. From my perspective, only I would say that you would look at it in chunks. So if the feeling is that there's more priority in completing Johnstown streets than there is Cardinal. I would like remove the Cardinal streets, like excluding Reed, which is a different one, and inserting the Johnstown into that. I wouldn't pick the street in Cardinal and the street in Johnstown and the street in New Exford. It just doesn't. But, or, vice versa, if it's like, it's just, I would keep them in the quadrants with the understanding, or at least the premise that.
You're doing New
In
Exford, do New Exford.
2025, you're not going to do any paving or really road program in that quadrant. You're going to be on another quadrant and try to do.
So if you pick one in New Wexford, pick all four.
Yes, I would like, I,
Right.
that would be, that would be my suggestion, obviously.
Yeah, no, I want to hear where you're from. I want
That's the thought process behind.
first up.
If somebody is saying, well, why are you doing all the ones in Cardinal, or, versus, that's, instead of picking one in each area, it was,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So I would just like, it's a starting point.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no,
I expected that there would be,
I think this is
we all
gonna be,
expected that there'd be further discussion on this one, on which roads, right?
I think this is gonna be the conversation. I'm guessing. I may be completely wrong, but will be for me. All right, so with that in mind, like the staff idea on it, I want to open it for discussion. So there is the included group that's highlighted in yellow, which gets us down to the 4,427,000. 195,000 of that needs to find a source, right? And that would be taxation, right? I'm assuming, or a reserve of some form or something.
Well, I think for the funding, for the 195,000. Probably the best conversation to have around that is around the town of Maxwell plow truck. Because I've got 185,000 going into reserves to cover that as a 2025 expense. However, if we want to grant pre-budget approval so they can get the town truck ordered, we can push that to 2025 and then that goes away. So we don't have to.
It wouldn't be short anything.
We're not short anything. A $10,000 overage or underage, I can make work.
Okay, so, yeah, okay, because I mean, the goal was, well, I don't think the goal was to cut anything from this budget. I really like the job that staff did, getting it where we work for. I think this is the hardest decision part of it, is this part, because we have an extra $2 million in roads. And now we have to pick through those roads to make sure we are all happy with the ones that are getting done. But in fact, we have actually added to the budget, right? So far, we haven't taken anything away. We've added to it for picnic tables, I believe, at the waterfront. So
Yeah, potentially, right? We're to come back with some additional costs. For picnic tables.
And I mean, I still have something that hasn't been included in here that I'm gonna have to bring up at some point as well, but still like to see included somewhere. So let's
maybe if there is some will to look at, instead of putting the 185,000 in reserve, that.
let's just wait.
Okay.
Let's just wait, because let's just wait and see what people come up with. Like, we have got a Johnstown counselor, we've got a Spencerville counselor, we've got a Cardinal counselor. And I'm willing to bet that they're willing to fight, and I'm willing, I have a bet that they're all willing to fight for their individual wards to see paving projects happen in those wards. So I may be wrong in that, but I think we need to at least give them the opportunity to voice their, voice that part before we, make any decisions on saying, all right, well, let's just do what's right. Okay. Fair.
Yes, all I was looking at was getting down to basically net zero before you have that discussion, so you have that, that's.
Well,
That's quite possible.
maybe they take one out and we get to that by them taking one out. Right, yeah, so, okay, so who wants to go? All right,
I like how you did the blocking, and I also appreciate the fact that this year it's called it 1.96 or 1.97 million. I just did some quick math on my calculator here. And would it be safe to assume then that the rural New Wexford, Johnstown, Spencerville blocks would be what we would contemplate that we are, I'm assuming these are all on this list because they need to be done sometime in the nearest future. So it's safe to say that we would expect that would be basically the block we'd be targeting for next year.
I would say that, that would be a fair assumption, like 2025 would see another, like, block, and then 2026 would be another block, whether, depending on what. Right, if we're committed to sort of that amount, then yes, it could easily be done on 2025.
Certainly, so I can appreciate the logistics aspect of it, and from the, I know I can represent Spencerville, so whatever, everybody is a word, to be honest, right, so I don't, we often say that. We're covering a lot of the tricky areas that are rural in and around the area. And I think people will be willing to wait until that for next year for the ones for Spencerville, so I'm okay with 55 in total in its entirety, and I just like the fact that we're starting off on Cedar Grove, and it's a long road, it's a lot of expense, but if we can get part of it done this year and part next year, that makes the cost, so I think you did a good job. I'm happy with it. It's fine. Fine with it. Remember that, sure. Thank you.
okay, do you wanna go?
I can. I guess. Someone's gonna have to get a calculator, but, I like to keep,
What do you
I
want?
like to do Armstrong. All of it. And Cardinal. And I'm gonna reach out. New Wexford, Johnstown, Spencerville. And I like to remove Rock Street. I have no idea. I drive that road every day, every single day, 7 days a week, and I don't feel that's a priority. I wonder if you could help me out on that, Mr. Hunter.
I don't think. I live on it.
You're right.
It's gonna need redoing, about that. but
You're right.
The dirt, it's gotta be ditched and stuff, there's no sense of paving it until it's ditched. We started ditching it before, we got the part way down. So all from,
And there's 11 of
the
these.
back corner, back of my farm, down to the school there. The whole thing, section down there, the, on both sides all the way down, so. Trees to remove. What was the arguments with property owners and taking trees out down. Pretty many,
160.
not much sense of doing much to it, so you.
Oh, one even.
Yeah, so
I'd be more in favor of taking it out, seeing Third Street.
We'll have to do something with that Armstrong.
Mm.
Have to. Now, may I continue, Mr. Mayor?
let me, I just wanna make sure that cause I think I know where you're going with this. I just wanna, so the two numbers that I need, so far he's taken out Rock Street, right, which I just wrote down, and I think that's 369,400, right?
Right.
Okay, so we've removed that amount out, and I know where we're going next, which is the deferral, since staff's mentioned it. Is that 185 for the plow truck next year? So if that comes out, it's 185, right? Okay, now. I think that's is. I'm
Yeah.
Looking at the screen.
And the 160 is out, right? For the, cause we're gonna finance that. For the sidewalk.
We haven't decided.
Through the chair, we haven't decided that yet. So just, so we don't get too far off.
Okay.
Off track, let me just see if I've got where we're at.
Okay,
We'd like to remove Rock Street
yes,
at 369,400,
right,
correct?
that's right.
You would like that, you would like to add in all of New Exeter and all of Johnston.
And all Spencerville.
Into all of Spencer.
140,000.
So with New Exford and Johnstown added in, you're 525,442. So you've got a difference of you just added $156,058 budget without Spencerville,
What, sorry?
without Spencerville. You've added $156,058.
I didn't do the math on it.
Yeah, no, I'm just,
Okay.
that's the math, sorry, like,
But hold on, let me butt into the math though for a second. So it's 364,400 that we've taken out for Rock Street.
Right.
correct.
I think the suggestion is that he also wants to take out the contribution to reserves for the plow truck.
185
No, but that's getting back.
for 2025, right?
That adds up to 554,400, right?
And then we would still be left with $196,000.
I thought you mentioned financing the holder, which would mean we probably have to have 30,000 this year, but the rest would be. We think we financed it. What we assume would we take the 185.
Can we just stick to the roads?
Yeah,
Well, and maybe
Well-
that's where, if we
Right.
can do dollar for the roads, then it might either add a road to
Because-
195 number,
okay, so let's stick to the roads
yes.
and forget about
And
the plows,
Okay, so 369,400 is out as of now,
right? Road,
okay?
correct.
So
Okay.
what the cost of Cedar, so we're not suggesting to do Cedar Grove or Cedar Grove.
that's
Haven't
in
heard
there, it's in there, community too.
No. We've already
No.
approved those.
Yeah.
So we're down onto the future capital lists,
Right.
right? So your suggestion is New Wexford, New Wexford, New Wexford, New Wexford, Johnstown, Spencerville, Spencerville.
Right.
Okay, I think. You
Yeah,
guys
we'll
can
have to
correct
check.
me over there if I'm wrong.
Gonna check,
I did this math too, but I had Rock and half of Armstrong being
I
taken
know.
out earlier.
yeah.
But I did the math for the bottom from. Not including Cedar Grove, so from Riverview Crescent all the way to Water Street. I did the math on that to 645,880.
Correct.
Is that right?
645,889.
889,
Okay,
and that's from Water Street to Riverview?
No, Riverview Crescent.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
all the way down.
So that's exactly what I want, okay.
So what'd you say it was, Sean? 645,889.
89.
Just go to-
Then that leaves us 276,489.
$76,489, correct.
And then the suggestion. If we were to go that route. That would be the amount that wouldn't be budgeted, correct?
It would be 276,489 plus 195. That wouldn't be budgeted.
What's the 195?
Because we've increased it above zero.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay, so
right,
so then we need that 276, get them down. And plus what was the number, 195?
and what would that total be, Sean?
$471.
471, 757.
471, sorry,
757.
that we're over,
That we're over.
So 471,
757.
757. And your suggestion. On top of that is to. is to roll the 185 into that.
Yes, I can present another option for you so if you take the 471,
Yeah.
757. Say we're gonna defer the financing on the town truck, so less 185,000.
Mhm. So it's just 286.
$286, 757.
Sorry?
So what we're left with now is 296,757 that we have to fund. My suggestion
Yeah.
would be rather than go into a expenditure on the holder unit. One of the original iterations I had of this was we actually financed a portion of the Weir Road Bridge. That has a 50-year life cycle that we're
25 years.
so we can finance it over a
You say
longer
a
period
portion.
of time. And I can divert monies from the CCBF to the roads.
So
Like
we're,
285,000 worth?
Correct.
so we've indicated, that doesn't mess with OCIF though, because we've indicated that we're using OCIF to do that project, right?
So there was a portion in 2023 in OCIF that we had indicated that was for the bridge. But the 2024 portion hasn't been signed yet. We've just signed it internally. We haven't actually signaled what it would be used for. So there's still that flexibility.
Yeah, I mean, in my discussions at counties, I mean, county saw 15% reduction in OCIF this year. And in discussions with lots of the others, I think we're one of only 3 that saw increases in OCIF. And I mean, I know that it's based on our FIR and, you know, but I certainly want to make sure that we utilize those funds in an extremely appropriate and well-intentioned way. So
the recommendation to get to the balance that we're looking for. Would be to then remove Rock Street. Add the new Wexford, Johnstown and Spencerville roads. Add $300,000 of debt to the Weir Road Bridge, so we'll finance a third of it. And pay for 600,000 out of OCIF. And then the balance, then CCBF actually goes to roads. So that grant funding gets re-upped. Because we haven't done that either. So if that's what we want to do and then defer the financing on that, we get to the number.
it still leaves us with almost 1.2 left to do on Cedar Grove Road. Sorry, but you look like you.
Well, I do, I love the passion, I love the aggressiveness. I'm not sure that what you're asking to have completed in one construction season, all throughout the township, I don't know if we can do.
I lost my. Well, it just went dead when you said that on the screen.
I do apologize.
So from a dollar value, though, it's not really a lot.
I'm
I mean,
not
from a
saying-
dollar value, it's almost the same. It's just not doing one road, and we're doing a bunch of others instead of one road.
Can we put it in the budget and do what we can do in 2024 and carry over? Where? In 2025?
The majority of your funding is actually coming from the port reserve, so you would, there's no whip really. If we
Can we call that something different? I don't want people thinking that we're raiding port reserves.
So,
sure.
so that is the dedicated capital reserve.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate when we refer to that, if we can refer to it as that versus the port reserve. I don't want any confusion to anyone who might be watching a budget movie or budget meeting.
So I guess. Yes, so could it be done? What I want to say, Joe, is that there's a good chance that not all of it is going to be done. Not because of anything else, just
Weather-wise, time-wise.
weather-wise, time-wise, you know, a number of other items. So
Pavement. Trucks going all over.
I think
You think you got one?
Yeah. And just the correction, it would mean that we into next year, we'd have Cedar Grove Road and obviously Rock Road. Take the Rock Streets away.
Well,
So
so
we
at
at
least,
least-
you get on the sea.
Gordon.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, one other thing to consider would be, by putting out multiple smaller pieces, the larger companies would be less attracted to that contract than the biggest. So if you put out too many small ones, I think there are a number of people that would be responding to it.
Armstrong Road's not small, right? Like, what do you call small? That's all.
I'm not
So-
talking specifically Armstrong, it's talking like a few in Westford.
No, I know.
A few there. Larger companies that get on for the bigger contracts, without the mobilization. They go to a grade, they drop there for the summer, go like county, for example. That's more attractive to the contractor than would be a lot of small.
So would you say that this budget that you're throwing in front, that you're putting in front of us might be off because of that? That's all.
Not saying that, but what was put before you was quite striking, and it's like. Stuff that was in the side of the bill. I'm just saying that there's a possibility to be less interested in finance.
No, I realize that, but the bigger guys might have a better price than the Taco Bears.
If they choose to do it.
If,
I shouldn't mention.
if we tender it, we don't have to accept it.
that is correct. So. If I can summarize correctly. With the roads program. Out of the entire list that was included plus future capital projects. The only roads that would not be looked at trying to complete in 2024 would be Rock Street and the 2 sections of Cedar Grove Road. Everything else would be included.
Yeah.
Is that where?
Sure, I do want, so maybe to continue it a little bit. I don't know that I'm satisfied with that yet. So.
No, but I just saying, but that's where we are.
I think that's where we are.
Right at this moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to speak to Armstrong Road?
I don't want to speak to Armstrong, but I would like to speak to what you're trying to do here.
Mhm.
We're taking rock out. I, Deputy Mayor wants to get everything out of the front page. And you do the new Waxford roads. And you do the 3 Spencerville roads, it pretty near balances out. You start adding in the Johnstown road in there, that's where you're losing, getting all your, I don't see the point of it, trying to add in 3 extra roads and financing half a bridge and deferring other roads. But you can't wait a year to do the Johnstown roads next year in your budget.
Well, the one section's pretty bad, that's for sure, it's a fire. I mean, we don't have to do it all, you're right. I'm just looking at all the bad roads, John, bad.
You're not gonna do them all in 1 year.
No, I know that. But with taking off of rock, it sure helps us, we can do quite a few of them.
You can't do them all. You're trying to do too little money. You're financing your future, next year you're gonna be worse shape, because then you're gonna already have your debt build up. And you still got a couple $1 million worth of roads looking to be done.
Well, in fairness, we don't have any debt. We have debt coming off this year, right, for the great. Well, but we have no debt, John. We owe for Marina. Other than that, we owe for next to nothing.
I know
That's the
that.
one
It's
thing
good
that
debt,
taxpayers
like debt,
pay about the whole-
debenturing a bridge that lasts 50 years, over 25 years is good debt, that's not bad debt.
I'm not saying that it's bad debt, but why do you need to do it?
Yeah.
Well, because the investment that kept getting pushed down the road. Can we continue the debate at the table? Thanks. The can you kicked for several years down with doing zero-based budgets left us in a hole. And we're trying to fill up that. Right, we're trying to close up that, we're trying to close up that, and roads are our biggest liability. Our facilities are actually not our biggest liability, our roads are. I mean, if we're going to continue to make the catch up for years gone by and the non-investment in those, then this is a way to do it. And a bridge isn't a bad debenture, I mean, it's a good debenture.
Bad venture, you have to mention that. But what you're trying to do is do a huge amount of roads all in 1 year. You're not gonna get them all done in 1 year anyway, so. You got. If the vast amount of roads that you're fixing here, you're in one road. You gotta limit yourself sometimes, next year. Having the budget, you finish up all the roads you got.
I think, and in my way of thinking, it's the amount of road you're doing. Like from a kilometer standpoint, not from a physical name of a street standpoint. Right, so we're doing the same amount of road or slightly more. Right, than what we were doing, but it's not a huge task, right? We're just not choosing to do the same roads that have been suggested to us. We're choosing to do smaller streets, which seems like it's more because it's more names, but it's not more kilometers. It's roughly the same amount of kilometers. Yeah, I don't, debenturing $1 million bridge, I don't have a problem. Like, I mean, if we wanted to do zero-based budgeting, it's good loss. We wouldn't be able to pave any roads this year. I mean, I think you've argued at the table for 4% increases for 4 years.
I don't think we're gonna do a zero-based budget by any means.
Well, if we do what's suggested on this list minus 180, we're at 3%. Like, we're not really adding anything to them. Fair enough, fair point. You guys were mumbling, you guys want to talk again?
Like, I can't read this, it's my trouble.
You want mine? Okay, so John, I trust your knowledge, so what are you suggesting then? You're suggesting to leave Johnstown till next year?
Johnstown next year and you're pretty near balance.
And what, John?
You take Rock Street out and you forget the Johnstown streets, you do all of them Waxman and you do the 3 Spencerville streets, that's pretty near the same as what Rock Street was.
And leave Johnstown out.
Yeah, you haven't affected your budget. You don't have to start. You're afraid of. Figuring out where to find $3,000.
Okay, so. And your concern is that we would not, you don't want us to debenture, that's yours.
Oh, I don't care about the venture, I'm just saying why. Venture just for the sake of doing 1 year sooner.
So you say,
You're gonna be-
make it last
You're
1
venturing the bridge to. You're really not venturing the bridge, you're venturing the roads, what you're really doing.
Don't, so don't we end up then in the same spot next year at budget though, when we still have Cedar Grove at 1.2 million, we have Rock at 400,000. And then all of those roads in Johnstown still left to do, are we not gonna end up having to do that decision again next year?
So it'll be pretty near the same, depending on how much money you get.
Well, so I think it's.
4 million here.
I think the reason I would want to do that debenture this year for that bridge is because to me, the bridge makes sense to do a small debenture on. And then we don't put ourselves further behind the 8 ball next year, we still can be able to catch up on something. So I think that's sort of where my thought is. Did you We're allowed to do the debate, I mean, that's, yeah, I thought you were trying to calm the kindergarten class down a little bit.
Not at all. Actually, I'm looking to rev it up a little bit. If you don't mind.
Perfect, go
Excellent. May I suggest
for it, absolutely.
that you remove the roads in Cardinal except Reed Street. We just did a major project in County Road 2. We're gonna have a fair bit of work on Reed Street. Right? And then if you want to do New Wexford, Johnstown and Spencerville, you get to your impact in those various quadrants, and I think we're close with the removal of lots.
Yes. What happens if we get the water is contract on Reed Street? That's part of that hundred.
No, Reed Street stays in,
Reed
So
Street stays in.
we would stay in.
new, middle and well.
It's just new, middle, and Waddell.
Jeez, that Waddell's
And
such a mess.
I get, and I get that, but Waddell, there's gonna have to be some storm sewer work on that. Right, which wouldn't be the same contract that we would be issuing for a number of these roads. That would be a simpler process, we'll call it. And in Middle Street, although we haven't had any concerns with the underground infrastructure, that's still some old pipe. And what I also wouldn't want to see right off the bat is that you fix up Middle Street, the road, and then all of a sudden we're into water breaks and we're tearing it up and we're into
Not the water and water and sewer is okay there.
Middle Street.
Yeah,
So there's been no complaints with its cast iron, probably vintage of 40s, 50s.
Is that?
so.
The chair, the sanitary mains were realigned, but the water main is very old.
On Middle? Middle and Victoria?
Victoria, yes.
Victoria, same vintage.
Yeah. Well.
There too, with the chair, sorry. I mean, if, you know, I like the idea that we get used to figuring out how to afford 1.9 million a year. If we can manage that, that seems to be the number that we're adding to. If you look at, we split this down the middle, that seems to be all the list we were given anyways, as far as we're concerned about. I'm sure next year, there might be another 1.9 million added again, which would be what we planned for, or we're gonna have the same conversation next year, about how we manage to do those, and I think that's, if, you know, and, you know, if we can do that without the debenture, that's great. If we have the debenture, that's a whole conversation we get to that point. But I just don't want to see us, you know, do a debenture this year, then realize we couldn't get $300,000 for the roads built as well, so that we maybe need the debenture in the first place. That's another question that we have. Based on that potential.
Let's go to 90.
Like I think by doing what I'm suggesting, you pool Armstrong Road and Spencerville together as like that's relatively close. And then you have New Wexford, Johnstown, and Cedar Grove Road, which is another fairly close pocket of the quadrant, and it kind of leads to better mobilization, demobilization, and it's more enticing to the contractors. And there's similar work that needs to be that needs to be completed, where you're not actually.
So the idea would be then that one tender would be like Edison, Cedar Grove Road, New Wexford and Johnstown, and the other tender would be Armstrong Road, Totem Ranches, Kempvilles. And so it'd be Armstrong Road, and then the Spencerville project would be the second tender, so 2 tenders, nice big tenders, and we might attract a bigger.
Yeah, and I kind of envision it that way. If you get two different contractors, then they totally different contractors.
Then you said,
What's that, John?
I say the Cardinal ones for the deal with water.
Oh, yeah, the water's down, yeah.
Totally different contract, it's so different, you're not gonna get colder. Tackler, grant trying to get in there.
so the only question then that I have, and it goes back to when, this past weekend, when, Minister Surma spoke about the infrastructure, program that's for water, sewer, stormwater management.
Housing enabling, water system fund.
Yeah, so not hanging our hat on the possibility of catching any of that 200 million, but do any of these projects, so the catch to that is that you have to have your application in by April 19th of this year.
Correct.
And you have to have the work started by September of this year.
Correct.
So do any of these have the potential, or is the idea that we're gonna move Reed Street in that?
The idea is that, at the February committee meeting, we will have a report on that funding and a couple of options available. One of the options, that was even discussed, last week at the, Joint Management Board was adding an additional basin onto the Prescott plant for capacity.
Yeah.
Right, there's also, we bring this topic up, but, subdivisions, like draft subdivision, right, depending on where some of those may align. Because part of that funding is basically enabling and speeding up housing developments. Right, that's a component of it, not just replacing infrastructure, but you could be extending services, right? So it's just a matter of the problem is that the design work kind of needs to be ready to go.
It has to be ready to go,
Well,
when you're with your application by the 19th, so.
yes, so it limits, like,
Yeah,
what the thought process is there a big impact project that we might be able to either partner with another municipality in or.
yeah, and my thought was, let's not take anything off of this list. If it's something we're gonna be applying for, that's. Right. Like if any of those streets in Cardinal are part of a potential application, I wouldn't want.
So they are
to take them
not.
off the list.
They-
Okay, that was
they're not-
more,
they-
that was
they're
more
not-
where my question was
Yes,
going.
sorry, they were not envisioned at all. Right.
Because I mean, that money's there, we should at least be trying to get some of it, if we're successful, great, if
We
we're
will.
not, right, okay, all right.
We will.
Alright, point taken. So then I have no issue with the suggestion to remove new middle and what else. I mean, I think what else is terrible, but I mean, if there's a greater amount of work that needs to be done than just pave it, we're just gonna end up cutting it to pieces to do that work. I think we need. We need to see that plan in front of us.
Why wouldn't we do that 2 years ago or 5 years ago when Mr. Burrow built those homes and they had the water or the gas line and all that? Open that.
No, bad question.
No, it's not, it's,
No, I'm just.
yeah, it's not a bad question, but it's like with one development on that street. You're typically not tearing up the entire street and. Like with Waddell, for instance, we would certainly want to coordinate with Cardinal Power.
Everything's high pressure, but yeah,
Right?
like,
Because the last thing we want to do is do all of our stuff, pave it, and then Cardinal Power comes and says, oh, by the way, we're actually digging everything up to run new cable.
Yeah.
So I think it just takes a little bit more coordination. I think we hit all quadrants, and I think it's a great program. It's hitting those quadrants, and I think it's more manageable.
Okay, my last, and I'm just gonna look to staff for this one. Cedar Grove, the parts of Cedar Grove Road that aren't getting them. Okay, so the part that's included, where exactly does it start? Where exactly does it finish?
I believe it starts at 44 and into Fraser Road. The part that's been included?
That's the part that's included,
That's the
yeah,
part.
and that's the worst. The worst section, it doesn't include the pieces that we patched a couple of years ago.
It does, I don't believe it does include those patches.
Mr. Chair, I would just like to add that the section at the bottom of the 44 Fraser Road, culverts and all the change now. They, a couple of years back, they changed the big one. And to get that section, so moving to the other side for the next section, on this is more culverts and drop offs will be changing. So I like that there's other things and looking at it in its original design and all that stuff. They were talking about the whole line.
That one's done.
So three,
Yeah, I remember that now. So the, how about like the drainage and the ditching and everything there? Is that all part of this project, or is this just the resurfacing?
If you go past Fraser Road, we're gonna need more ditches. The first section was done, that was basically, it was also the consideration with the forest and steam and then the 401 lighting there.
Yeah.
You can't go a lot bigger with it or do some of the other modifications that are looked at in part of it. So that piece basically would not be there, we're not gonna look at road lines and stuff because when you're curving underneath the bridge, you can't make it straight.
Right.
You know, put those other pieces.
So
that
that's-
piece is the least amount of work to get ready to pay. And that's
Right, so it's more or less ready to go.
Yeah,
So then I'll look back to this side of the table. For the Acon, is the company that's doing the 401, for the expansion, the widening and stuff. This part of Cedar Grove Road doesn't fall into any of those concerns. We're not gonna pave a road that we have to move.
to the mayor. There's a pedestal there. They'd have to change the whole bridge. So that's one of the other ideas that's, there's a pedestal in between, Cedar Grove Road. The 401. So we have to redesign that whole pass.
I'm good with that.
Yes, I don't. From the information that we have right now, I don't see how that would get back.
Okay. All right, I just don't want to waste it there.
No, but it's fine.
Through the chair,
Thanks.
no problem. No, this one just came up actually, so does it make sense, and maybe it's not possible, and I appreciate how we usually fund and do budget for the township, but does it make sense to have them tender the entire Cedar Grove, knowing that part one, have it like, in other words, year one, we're doing the sector of Hawkins, and then year two, committing to doing that the year after? And getting a better price potentially by doing that?
Sorry, just, can you just clarify what you're saying is like, tender out Cedar Grove Road in multiple phases at once?
Yeah.
And do it over 2 to 3 years? I don't believe you'll get any, because they'll bump up, they'll substantially bump up phase 2 and 3 to make sure that they're covering. I would anticipate it would cost you more.
Okay. All right, so where are we at?
So where we're at now, through the chair, if we go and in Cardinal, we remove everything except for Reed Street. And we remove Rock Street. We can add New Wexford, Johnstown and Spencerville roads. And if we defer the $185,000 financing for the plow truck, to 2025, we're balanced. No dimension.
But what do we, so we're at 0?
Yes. You're at about $11,000 for the good, which means we'd be less out of the.
So then we're at 3% for operating.
Correct. And nothing for.
So. Okay, so that's 3, and then what's the impact of the county levy? So can you have that for next time then? Like it's 6.28 right now, right, is the projected, I honestly think it's gonna be less than that,
Well, when I.
we're settling in a good number.
Through the chair, when I present the operating budget at the next meeting, I'll have that in the report.
So
As to what it would be combined.
do you, but I know I'm moving on the spot. But I mean, school board's not increasing, that's 19%, 30, whatever, 34% of it is United Counties, the rest is us, right? So.
There we-
So we're 3 and 6, like we're what, 4 and not 4.5, we're not gonna get 4.5 of that, it's gonna be less than that, right?
Yeah,
It's gonna be under 4.
rough now.
But we're 2.83 plus the county slash, the counties are 8.
Got all the nails,
3.69.
got through my nails.
We're under 4%. That's fantastic. And that's a lot, that's an aggressive amount of work done for 3.6. Okay, this is a great discussion. So where do you want us to go? Where are we at this point? I mean, do we want to just recommend that we move forward with what the suggestion is to remove those and
keep this on until our next budget meeting?
Yes.
okay, so I'm gonna word this question. Okay, so the recommendation would be that do you want me to name the roads or name the ones I want to? Okay, so I'm gonna say that we move forward in the 2024 budget process with the inclusion of Edison, Totem Ranch, Cedar, that first part of Cedar Grove, Armstrong, all of the New Wexford, all of the Johnstown, and all of the Spencerville. And Reed Street, thank you.
That good?
And that'll stay in the budget, and then if we can consider it again to make sure everybody's had a good solid thought, or if anything's changed.
We'll have, Mr. Chairman, we'll have a lot of updates on, et cetera.
With another.
Which we minor,
Okay, I think that there's one more thing, Jim, but I need a mover and a seconder to do that part first, so your question or moving? Moving, seconded by Chris Ward, discussion further? Hearing none, okay, all in favor? Okay, so unanimous. Thank you everyone for your patience and a great discussion, good. I think I'll do it under,
Inquiries?
sure. Let's go to number 8 then, and council inquiries and notices. Does anybody have an inquiry or notice? This way? No, I have 2.
Okay.
So one, inquiry would be, and if I can to the CAO, it's gonna come back to the facilities director. There's no inclusion for docking at whether it's accessible kayak docking, whether it's any form of docking, re-docking at Legion Way and Cardinal. And I know council has made it part of their mandate that they wanted to increase every year the docking and the available space for boaters to dock at Legion Way. So is there something that's included in operations that's not included in budget, or do we need to ask to have a dock included?
So operationally, there will be a kayak and kayak unit so that people can pull off the kayak. It'll be affixed to one of the existing docks. That's just under operation on the capital.
Okay,
We did budget this year for any extra dockage.
and does
So if that's
that,
something that you want, then I come back with extra cost,
Okay, I think, and then as my inquiry, like then with that information, is there, there's a lot of kayaking that happens in that, you know, that, river by the mill, right? Like that portion by the mill. Is there any thought to working with South Nation to see if we can secure one there as well? Or are we just looking?
I haven't looked at the application, I just looked at one in Cardiff.
Well, you said we could transport that too,
Oh, you could, absolutely.
yeah, so
Like
that,
for your overrun
Yeah.
weekend, we could move it to Spencer.
it's after a week or two, get kayak anyway,
There's
there's no water. Yeah,
Against that.
so it's that June, yeah, it's just that.
Okay, so then I guess my inquiry is that if some form of docking can be included in the next.
Where do you want to put it?
In the next part,
Up on, your worship,
yeah, so,
there's a ramp already made just in front of the canteen, big river dive to go for kayaks and put the dock there. It's easy access to walk down.
can it attach to the existing South Nation dock?
Yeah, they will bring one to one of our existing docks.
What, but the South Nation dock, the one that has the accessible
We
railing?
looked at which one would be the best suited for being able to get the kayak down. I know the area you're talking about, there's a little bit of a slope there.
Yeah.
It might be better just to put it on the docks, right at the boat launch. So that it doesn't impede the boats that are coming in and out, but for someone that wants to, that needs to lift their kayak to go down to the water, it might be comfortable there, but we haven't used about that. It definitely will be one of the current.
Just thinking, well, anyways, it's up to you to figure out the location,
Sorry,
but there's a lot of use for kayak and canoeing.
Yeah,
So,
but as far as adoption, didn't answer my question, where would you want to be putting one on?
well,
Just keep piggybacking.
yeah, I would just say keep building that. You know, like, if you're asking me where another dock would go, it'd be right beside the existing, ones or attached to the existing. ones. I mean, the amount of use that they get in the summer now, when you see people are actually still coming in and tying up across at the cement wall across and getting off boats and walking around to come to the beach. I mean, the idea was to get the jet ski traffic.
There,
so that it
nice
could
easily,
and
it's crazy
get
in
to
the hot
those,
summer
yeah.
day.
You know, I think, you know, there were lots of times that we took tons of, I actually took tons of pictures on the festival times this year where people didn't have anywhere to actually dock. So, especially when there were
So
people.
your capital budget then would go 15,000-20,000.
I think it's worthwhile to see if in the next one, if people don't want it, they can cut it, but at this point, we haven't had the option. So I think my inquiry would be if it could be included, I'd like to see something.
We'll have that included in next,
Okay, so my second one is an interesting one, and I know you and I have discussed this before. And it comes back to it's an inquiry. And I'm hopeful that that it doesn't take a discussion at a committee or something like that. And it's that for a long time, there have been heaters in Cardinal that require the use of a loony or a toonie, I'm not sure which it is, and then you have to somebody has to walk down, turn the heater on and then go back and sit down, and when the timer runs out, that like, you know, they get shut off. Is there any way that we can get rid of the loony or the toonie portion of that so that they just turn the timer and the timer turns on and turns off by itself, but they don't actually have to feed it money, so that, you know, it's such a small amount of money that. Just wondering if we need to give direction to do that, if that's through an inquiry, if there's general support, what's the mechanism to have that change? I'd like to see it change.
I would say at this point, Mr. Darius, leave it with me.
You want it to toonies at $5 bill? Oh,
I want no charge, so that's. I don't know if there's the support, but
is there a possibility though of putting it on timers like from, I don't know, 7 at night to 11 at night when there's minor hockey Monday to Saturday or something like that? That's possible. Okay. Sorry.
no, that's fine, I just wanted to make sure that okay, get the locking chair to the government there. I don't know that you would want to put it on a timer because, like, for example, last night with the storm between 6 and 9
Right.
o'clock, What they were in the rest of
I understand what you're saying, so you could just, you guys could regulate.
Guys have to think, oh geez, I gotta go shut that town off, no one in the bleachers. I would rather that someone have to go press the button.
Yeah.
And they come on for the 30 minutes that they do now.
Okay.
So, which is something that we can discuss.
Okay, thank you. That's it for my inquiries. Oh, gosh, I have to do this report. Okay, so mayor's report. I'm gonna make it brief and recent. We've been here a long time. We got a close session. We still have a close session. Okay, so mayor's report, mayor is happy to report that council attended Roma this past weekend. All of council and both our clerk and our treasurer. We attended many very useful workshops. I think everyone at the table had a fantastic experience of what it's like to have the opportunity to sit in with ministers and associate ministers. I can say for myself, I sat in on 7 delegations through United Counties plus 1 for here, and I met with 5 ministers and 3 parliamentary assistants trying to move various projects, not only for Edwardsburg Cardinal, but all across the United Counties. We had the opportunity to meet with education minister to talk about rural school closures and the Seawell, the $10 daycare, and how we're not accomplishing those numbers, and we haven't been able to hit the $10 daycare. We've substantially reduced the cost, but we need to do better and we need to do more. They agreed with all of that, and it's fantastic. We had the opportunity to meet with Minister Todd Smith and discuss the gaps and our application for phase 3 when it comes to the gas line expansion. We made it very clear to Minister Smith that we didn't believe that the province can achieve its goals with just electrification without the expansion of gas line. They completely agree with that concept and they want to continue to move forward. They believe that that is a pathway towards net zero, and that we can accomplish that through gas projects. And I fully anticipate those conversations, not only with Minister Smith, but with PA Sarrazin, will go a long way towards, if not here in Edwardsburg Cardinal, but certainly around us, to seeing more of those gaps in that gas line service, or that hydrocarbon line service being closed up. We brought forward the Cormorant discussion, and we had a good discussion with PA Brazil in regarding, that was an Edwardsburg Cardinal delegation that we all sat in on, regarding cormorant control in our area and what the ministry can do to help aid us, not only in the costs of that, but future uptake in those programs as well. I think we met also with both levels of ministry transportation. I certainly had a good conversation with Hardeep Grewal and Minister of Crab Meet Sakaria and Vijay Thanagalasan about all kinds of different MTO issues. We're all the way from the Gananoque border all the way down, including the potential of an off-ramp at Blue Church Road, and the entire 401 expansion area, and what it would look like as that continues. Where I brought to the minister, you know, the need to make sure that the potential for rail crossing to continue underneath that 401 mattered to us, especially if we see the north side of the 401 as investment lands. So certainly had the opportunity to engage with lots of ministers, move the needle forward, and take in some of the plenary room discussions and learn lots while we were there as well. It's very busy, and I can safely say I'm exhausted. I don't know about you guys, but I'm absolutely wiped out. It was fantastic week. So that's it for the mayor. It's the first time I've done one in a while. That's it. Question period. Any questions? Then we are closed session. Does somebody have closed session?
No, it's only verbal, right? Closed session verbal?
No, somebody want to go into closed session. Who has to go into closed session?
Proceed into,
Yes,
we're doing that now?
yes.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Wally Smale. Committee proceeds into closed session at 9:58 in order to address the matter pertaining to A, section 239(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically employee benefit entitlements. B, section 239(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or board employees, specifically operational sustainability.
Follow.
All right, then you call the question. All in favor? We're in closed session, 5-minute break. There you go.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Body Smale, that the closed meeting of committee does now adjourn and the open meeting does now resume at 9:33 p.m.
Thank you, Councilor Martell.
Moved and seconded. I will call the question to come back into open session. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're back in open session and reporting out of closed session. Council met in closed session under section 239(2)B, personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically to talk about employee benefit entitlements. And as a result of that conversation, we gave direction to our CAO. Item B, the second item we talked about was section 239(2)B, personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and the specific was organizational or operational, not organizational, operational and sustainability. And we also, to this item, gave direction to the CAO. That's the report out of closed session. Who has the item for adjournment? Councillor, can you bring that forward?
I can, Your Worship, that the committee does now adjourn at 9:32 p.m.
Moved by,
Myself and seconded by Councilor Bill Martell, sorry.
thank you, non-debatable, all in favor? Aye. We're good meeting, folks.
Sorry, guys.